na hatugojei wewe. We are not looking for you and we have no time. Stop saying that people can force you to come to this government. Forget about being forced or coerced. We are not interested because sisi tuko na kazi ya kufanya.
Kama kuna mtu ako na namba ya William Ruto, arekodi hii video mtumie. Maisha yangu tangu nizaliwe sijawahi kuona mtu muongo, mfisadi, baradhuli, mdhamdhabina kama William Samoei Ruto.
Mimi Hassan Joho nikitaka kuongea, mimi I don't even dream of engaging with them. Ati huyu akitaka aje aongee sio na mimi niongee na Ruto nini? Mimi nikamtafute atanipa nini? Wilbarani.
We have a choice to reject over 60% of these names or give President Ruto his skunk. Apart from a few individuals who are not even more than 8, the rest are incompetent, unqualified, have integrity issues, are people who cannot deliver this country from where it is to the next level that we want the country to move in.
A few moments later.
Now forwarded the name of John Mbadi Ngongo to the Ministry of National Treasury and Economic Planning. The Honorable Hassan Ali Joho, Ministry of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs.
Nguruwe kujiganga na mafuta yake.
The situation. Traffic.
Very good morning to you, and taking a look at what's happening with traffic this morning. Just a little bit of traffic has started as you come off of the thicker superhighway, likely to get just a tad crazier as we get into the morning. It's going to be busy. It's Monday, coming off of the weekend. And we're looking at Uhuru Highway, getting through towards the city. Not much happening here, at least not for now. We will see that build up later. And the thicker superhighway, like we said, just about at the Pangani underpass is where we see the most of it right now. Getting into towards Outer Ring. And that's looking okay as you go through in all the way from the Eastern Bypass at North Airport Road, then through towards the thicker superhighway on Outer Ring. Kangunda Road is busy. In and outbound traffic is already doing the thing, and we'll keep an eye on all of this as we get through. Let's take a quick look at Langata Road, which looks good. The Southern Bypass getting towards the city is not looking bad at all this morning. So an eye on everything is what talk to us as we try to keep things moving this morning. SpiceFM KE on X hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Good morning. Say hey. Okay. So, okay, somebody's shouting here. This computer is telling things. Okay, keep quiet. Thank you very much. Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning.
How are you?
Salama sana, nashukuru. Wewe uko aje?
I'm okay.
Looking good in pistachio.
Well done. You're learning your colors. Pistachio is a shade of green. There are very many. So, in fact, I'll send you a palette later so we can understand the colors of green.
Does turquoise also belong there?
What?
Turquoise
no,
is
turquoise
a shade
belongs
of blue.
in the blues.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
See?
I will try this week to wear maybe 3 different shades of green. For your pleasure. Sawa.
Just make sure you have jungle green in there as well, no?
Yeah, I will do jungle green, and then we'll do an earth, evergreen, fresh green.
Okay.
Let's see, what else is there?
When you say evergreen, I only know evergreen, the shipping containers, no? How's your weekend?
I'm trying to remember. Just give me a minute. It was okay because of course I wanted to go to I was not able to go to Semenya, which is quite unfortunate because of certain things, but yeah, so Brother Koch was laid to rest with finality over the weekend, and so it was a somber day actually, and then it was just kind of quiet through, wasn't it? Yeah, it was actually. Then it rained, me, and when it rains, and I'm enjoying being inside, so yes.
Yeah, mine was actually easy. Saturday I was here, followed through.
I heard you actually. I watched you.
Yeah.
I did.
You heard me and saw me.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I heard and saw you. Okay.
So I was following up on the burial at Simenya.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. We laid Edward to rest, and may he rest in peace. It's not easy, but such is life.
Indeed,
such is life.
It is.
Yeah. Other than that, Sunday, mvua kwa wingi
kabisa.
Yeah, just chilling inside. Yeah.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, we're here, and good to see you guys. Getting into conversations that we need to have getting into this Monday morning. CT's still not here with us this week, so it's just a couple of more days, and it's taking a minute. You know how we say you need to unplug it and then plug it back to see everything working? That's exactly what's going on at the moment. So we'll just, he'll be with us soon. And getting into it today. So as we do, we just want to let you know some of the conversations that we will be having today, and we'll do that in just a second. Our live streams are up, or kind of up. So maybe Jeff whisper into my ear in terms of what's going on there, to be able to get onto our live chats. We can see people already in the room, but let's see if we can actually get them speaking to us. Sawa. Yeah, so Jeff is in the back there, and good morning to you. So conversations that we'll be having this morning. There is the real politic that is going on, and at 7 a.m. Martha Karua, who is a party leader of the People's Liberation Party, is going to join us for a conversation at 7. There have been rumblings. There is chatter about in terms of what is happening with, folks who been there, done that, bought the T-shirt and want to give it another go come 2027. We're going to be looking into good governance and leadership and succession politics with Martha Karua at 7. And so that happens then. We're also going to be looking into issues around security. The Haiti mission, there are many questions surrounding what's going on there. But in addition to that, what makes the headline story today on the Standard is a conversation that we will have in terms of security regionally, conflict, and we'll be doing that with a Captain retired Dr. Simiyu Erunga, who is the CEO of the African Center for Security and Strategic Studies. We'll be looking at the Kenya-led mission in Haiti, whether it's time to rethink, and also rethinking Kenya's diplomacy when it comes to regional conflict, RSF and Sudan in the middle of all of that. Finally, it is International Nurses Day 2025. I tell you, there's a day for everything. And this is another one. We'll be looking into whether there is something to smile about. We're going to do that with Seth Panyako, who is the Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Nurses. And then, so we'll have that conversation with him at 9 o'clock. So those are conversations that we will have today. And as we get into the week, that's how we'll form and shape them. And we're glad that you can join us even as we do. All right. Before we get a chance to say good morning to you, we're in a different country this week.
Yes. And we are still we're in Africa, right? Yes, and our proverb of the day comes from Libya. Now, just a few things you would want to know about Libya. Right now, Libya has a population of around 7 million people. Official language is Arabic. But one thing that stands out with Libya is everyone associates Libya with Muammar Gaddafi. And Muammar Gaddafi is an important figure in Libya because of what he did for the people. Education in Libya was free all the way to university. Those that were unemployed would get government stipend. Healthcare was free. The only thing that was actually expensive in Libya was water. Simply because they went through desalination of water from the ocean, which then people had an opportunity to have clean drinking water due to what Gaddafi did, and also his inroads into Africa and what his aspirations for the continent was, having a single monetary currency, and Africa just being united. Unfortunately, we saw his demise, something that is a conversation, especially in geopolitics across the world, because of Libya. And it is a former colony of Italy between 1911 to 1943, and gained its independence in 1951.
Wow.
Those are just a few facts about Libya. And our proverb of the day today: the flute player dies with his finger shaking.
The flute player
dies with his finger shaking.
The flute player dies with his finger shake. Well, I guess something that you've been used to doing for the longest time is going to take you through and through.
Yes.
Even well into your life, and in this case, after death.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, it's if you just sit and look back at Edward's life, everyone remembers him for what he did. His
Absolutely.
flute, his microphone.
His microphone,
much.
exactly.
Yeah.
And those are the things that we look at, isn't it? And that's how we remember people.
Yes.
Well, it would be interesting to see what folks have to say about that. Okay, so I'm trying to find you guys on the live stream, and I know that your conversations are coming in 1, 2, 3. Maybe, Jeff, you can tell me exactly what's going on with that live stream. It seems like we can't get folks in. Trying to find you so that we can say a big hello to you this morning as we get into things. Well, I'm here. Okay, yes, I can see we're live, but I can't see us over here on this machine. So maybe you want to help me out with this, right? Okay, just a minute. Let me do that. Okay, cool. All right. So, very good morning to you guys. As you're tuning in this morning, Rose Grace says, good morning, tuned in from Tamu. A blessed week to you all. Asante sana, always for joining us. It's good to have you here. Tunakupenda sana pia. Rahim Tula Oma is tuned in from Colchester this morning, and also saying a very big hello and a good morning. Bernardito, tuned in from Doha. Princess Ndu Dennis, have a happy week. Asante sana. Praise God, team. Then we say, praise God.
Praise God.
Okay.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes, amen. Praise God, praise God, praise God, amen.
Okay.
Works.
Okay, sorry, it works. Okay. Have a happy new week. This is from Neyman Movic, and he's listening in from Kisumu. Robert Tobogo says, good morning from Mombasa. Georgia Demo says, good morning, Spice team, listening from Rongo. The weather is cold. You guys, when you say it's cold, it's like 26 degrees, eh?
Today, how much are we doing today?
Well, so today, right now in Nairobi, at this point, it's 16. And it's kind of chilly, right?
Yeah.
That's why I say when folks in when folks in Rongo tell us that it is chilly, I think we're around that 2021, Abby.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, good morning, all of you. Happy Mother's Day. Yes, indeed, that was yesterday. Jose, thank you so much.
Happy Mother's Day.
It was interesting yesterday. It was fun, quiet, but you know. It's fun, this motherhood thing. Engineer Karaoke says, good morning. Is CT back on? Not yet. While you were away, indeed, not yet, but he will be soon. This is Ken Kibara. Hi, Spice team. I wish you a great week. Thank you so much. Always listening in from Kabatini in Nakuru. Well, thank you so much. George Wanjala, we see you. Mashari and Jero is tuned in this morning and says, watching from Portland. We know, Mashari, you're not going to go to bed until at least you've come into the room. So thank you so much. Karibu sana. Erica War says, good morning, guys. Bwangi Juma says, the political class is still washing their linen dirty and clean, but in public. Okay, Bwangi, good morning to you. Mama J says, ask Ndu to wear money green. In fact, my sister, money green is the next green I shall wear.
Why?
Esther One Boy says, tuned in from Komarok. Have a good day, guys. Good morning, Team Spice, says Charles Ndieka. Happy new week and happy belated Mother's Day to our Spice moms. Indeed, may this week be a blessing to all of us. I'm tuned in from Boston. I must, in this my lifetime, I must live for some time in the northeastern US. There's just something.
Why?
I don't know. I think it's the whole collegiate thing. It's the center of academia. I think the weather that side, especially going towards the end of the year, very different. Just that whole thing of a clean, crisp living and the academia, I think.
Academia.
Yeah, I want to watch and see it will happen. Mtuflani says, good morning, people. Nairobians should start taking scuba lessons since their governor is MIA as usual. I know. Did we see after hours of rain, the things that happened? People saw bad things, I'm telling you, because of the water.
But you bought boats some time back, no?
We bought boats. They bought boats. I don't know where they are.
I've only seen one that Eric Omondi came with.
That was building Noah's Ark. Oh, they're different. Oh, Eric's Ark.
Eric's Ark, yeah. But he did some good job, especially in Madari, you know.
Yeah, I took people where they were going.
Give credit.
Yeah, sure, okay. Ben Nyaluide. Hey, I don't want to butcher your name, but it's a beautiful one. Niger Green is good on you. I'm telling you, I bleed green Kabisa. Sir Dr. Fico says, good morning, Spice team. Locked in from Mumias, the land of Nabongo Kingdom. A great week to you all. Greetings to you. Morris Andati says, good morning and happy new week. Eugene Odhiambo is tuned in and says, good morning, Spice FM. Wishing you all a fantastic start to the day. Tuned in from Kikuyu. Gotia Deno Hapo Studio.
Gota.
Stanley Ngashe, greetings. It's the mushroom season in Western Kenya. It's a thing, isn't it? I think Cardinal CT is still suffering from heartbreak for a non-election of an African to the papacy. I emphasize with him, Pope Leo XIV is the first American to be Pope, so let's keep up hope. Okay, Paul. Paul and Jay here, very good morning to you. Happy Mother's Day to all the beautiful ladies. Anne Gore, good morning to you. Good morning, marvelous Monday of May 12th, 2025. I prophesy blessings to all this week in Christ Jesus' name. Amen. King Dave. Chamge, my beautiful people, it's raining in Nairobi. Yes, the drizzle is on proper. It looks like it's going to be, according to Kenya Met, looks like it's going to be a couple weeks of constant rain. Or probably we've seen almost 24 hours in Nairobi so far of constant rain. Luca Biero says, good morning, Wazito. Tuned in from Obama Estate. Uko iko wapi?
Obama Estate. I don't know.
Okay.
But it's, I think it's in Kisumu. I'm not sure.
It's in Kisumu? Okay.
Let's say it's in Kisumu.
Okay, fine. Yeah. It can be in Kisumu. Why not?
Why not?
It's in It's in Kayole. You were saying it's in Kisumu. Jeff is thinking you guys have gone too far west. It's in Kayole.
It's in Kayole.
Sorry. Okay, all the same, but okay.
Okay.
Derek Ogula. By the way, you guys, there's Jeff. I told you there's Jeff. Yeah. Let me just say it again. There's Jeff, who's here this morning. Derek Ogula says, good morning, Ndu, good morning. Salamu kutoka Roiru, good morning to you. Luca Biero, yeah, we've seen you. Kin says, good morning from rainy Tampa Bay in Florida. Boniface Njoroga is tuned in from Baledogle in Somalia. Baledogle in Somalia. Dylan says, good morning, Spice. Good morning, guys. Waiting for the hot conversation, watching from Saudi Arabia, says Brayo Karanja. James Oroko is tuned in this morning, watching from Doha. Good morning, good people. May this brand new week give us opportunities to better ourselves. Washo Gatoto. Good morning, my sister. Always good to have you in the room, and amen. George Okoh says, good morning, my good people. Princess Ndu, Dennis, Edna. Edna today is Jeff, but Jeff is Jeff.
Yes.
Sindio. Watching from Miami, Florida. Now Apenda Sana, and happy Mother's Day. Thank you so much. Robinson Gatiba says, good morning. We cannot get you on 96.5 in Nakuru. Kwanini? Tuangalie your story.
Kabisa.
Joseph Okondo says, good morning, Spice FM. Bwangi Juma Ifoma and Deno. Good morning and blessed Monday to you too, bro. The Red says, hi Spice. Ebu salimia mtu anaitwa Omutiti. Anasikiza kwa akiwa kwake.
We. Sawa Omutiti, salimika ukiwa kwako.
Sawa. Mali huko umesalimiwa. Collins Otieno says, Kenya is a sick nation. Na dawa yetu ni kura. Good morning, Spice. I thought you were not going to greet us. You would just start shouting. But you put the greeting after, so it's okay, Collins. And then there's Collins Bai who says, Obama Estate is along Kangunda Road. Thank you so much. Watching from Komarok, says Collins. And Jay says, good morning, watching from 007 Msalani. Where is County 007?
Masalani. Msalani means something else.
Oh, he said Masalani.
Msalani means Nenda Msalani, toilet.
Oh, okay. Masalani. Wait, this Kiswahili will kill somebody's child. My God. Masalani is where?
Masalani is a place. 007. What is 007?
County 007 is what?
Yeah.
Anybody who can tell me.
Yeah, they will tell us.
I'll give you 100 shillings.
County 007. It starts from Mombasa is 001, 02 is Kwale. I think it's on your way coming this side.
County 007 for 100 shillings. Tell us this morning where that is. Seriously, me, I'll give you 100 more. Tell us where it is because me, I want to know. Okay, last one. Good morning. Who's Jeff? Jeff is our producer this morning. Everybody's asking who he is. You want to see Jeff? We'll show him to you. Don't worry, Paul. You're tuned in from
County 7 is Garissa.
Mississauga, Ontario.
It's Garissa.
I'm not giving you 100 shillings, Dennis.
Whoever tells us on the chats, gets 100 bob.
One can wish, Abby. Good morning, everybody. Always good to have you in the room as we get into these conversations. And as you say good morning to us, telling us where you're tuned in from. Great to have Kenya's biggest conversation with you this morning, The Situation Room. We're going to look into the headlines real quick, and then we'll come back and look into weather and traffic. And then we'll get into these stories into details. But let's go.
See, I was right.
You were right.
Obama in Kisumu.
There's Obama estate in Kisumu. Okay.
Kisumu, lazima kuwe na Obama. Why else
You're
do you expect it to be?
lazima. Okay, so
I just really want to know, did they name it Obama after Obama became president?
Or was it there before?
That's the question.
It's a very good question. Maybe somebody from Obama can tell us. Yep. Coco. All right, let's look into the headlines, shall we? Mm-hmm. Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard, on the front page, RSF's tragic mission. A Kenyan pilot was killed in an attack by the Sudanese army at an airstrip controlled by the rebel Rapid Support Forces in northern Sudan. The pilot was reportedly on a covert mission supplying personnel and military hardware to the RSF, a revelation that risks tarnishing Kenya's image. For a nation celebrated for its role in mediating regional conflict and often dubbed as an island of peace, the operation linked to senior government officials amounts to an embarrassing own goal in a volatile conflict. Now, as luck, or serendipity, as chance, whatever would have it, this morning we have a conversation, as I told you, around the Haiti mission. We will look into this RSF issue as well and see what it means, what this is all about. But it does look like a little bit of a diplomatic faux pas.
True.
But we'll keep our eyes on that. Mothers speak pain, power, and the plea for dignity in delivery rooms. As the world honors mothers, Kenyan women share harrowing tales of childbirth neglect, outrage, or rather courage and hope, demanding dignity, safety, and compassion in hospitals where motherhood begins and too often is nearly lost. So, looking at other headlines today, how training of midwives has helped reduce maternal deaths. Agency wants 27 stations shut down over betting adverts. You know me, I don't even know how to pretend. When now Jeff now comes and starts to kneel down here next to me, I just have to say I don't understand what's going on. But okay.
You don't understand.
Struggle for visually impaired teacher to obtain a TSC number. That's an interesting one. And state silence after Kenyan pilot killed plane wrecked in Sudan's RSF mission. So those are some of the things that we'll be looking at today. Brash Governor Natembeya now finds power in political restraint. I'm not so sure, but okay. Digital recruitment of police will eliminate corruption. Ms. Kia, now that we are going to digitize everything, corruption is a thing of the
past.
That is what is going to happen. Now, when you digitize everything, there will be no more corruption. I mean, it's fantastic. Why they didn't think about
it? Are they doing it
a long
through
time
AI,
ago?
or do we still expect individuals to be keying in names and recruitment, whatever?
Sijui mimi. Lakini tutajua tu. As soon as it's digitized. Mambo itakuwa kala.
Onge.
Exactly.
Yes, tuko hapa.
Tuambie basi.
So to the Daily Nation, Ruto stumbles from one crisis to another. President Ruto has weathered several storms since assuming power in 2022, but after navigating one crisis, another crops up, testing even more the foundation of its administration. The crisis: budget showdown and opposition to new taxes. Now uproar over IEBC nominees and a row with governors on county cash that never seems to end. And a two-faced Raila Odinga is in opposition, is in government, is in broad-based government. And a growing opposition to broad-based government, battling Kenyatta's shadow. Now Gachagua fueling Mount Kenya rebellion after his impeachment. Public disquiet over performance by CSs, unfulfilled promises to the hustlers, and fallout over MP Were's murder and Gen Z killings. How rogue police officers are costing taxpayers millions in needless awards. Courts are increasingly awarding Kenyans hefty awards for trumped-up charges brought against them by rogue police, mostly linked to protests. And public schools demand fat bribes for new learners. Parents are complaining about fat bribes ranging between 40,000 shillings and 100,000 shillings that head teachers are demanding to admit new learners in public schools. Remember, when it comes to selection of these things are done automaticized, right? But you can see corruption here.
No, they said the police, only police. When you digitize at the police level, that's when we remove corruption. These other places, no.
Can still happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Oil dealers inflate cooking gas prices by 3 times. Multinational oil marketing companies are raking in billions in profits from the sale of tax-free cooking gas, even as consumers pay exorbitant prices. At some point, the president said, "Mutungi itakuwa shingapi? 500." Did you even get to 500 shillings?
It was 300.
It was 300?
Yeah.
Did you ever get there?
No, please.
No, please?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Joe dragged into Turkana gold mines feud. CS on the spot of a regular issue of licenses. These are stories making headlines on the Daily Nation this morning. Look at the BD. Business
okay,
Daily.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So Business Daily. Kenya avoids IMF loans in favor of World Bank. Now, budget documents show no plan for IMF funds to 2029 and Treasury to deepen reliance on World Bank loans. So, tumetoka IMF, sasa tuko wapi? Tuko World Bank. And defaults on asset financing loans hit 173 billion shillings on high rates. Defaults on loans tapped to buy homes, land and vehicles shot up by nearly a fifth to 173.3 billion shillings last year on elevated interest rates, triggering a wave of auctions. And a lot of people have actually been auctioned in recently,
Absolutely,
simply because
yes,
they can't meet their obligations.
Sadly, but yes.
Yeah.
It's become a thing.
And 131.9 billion shillings are PPP projects set for groundbreaking. 10 public-private projects valued at 131.9 billion shillings are set to break ground in the next fiscal year, including the Galana Kulalu Food Security Scheme, the Treasury has said in fresh budget documents. Galana Kulalu.
Oi.
Galana Kulalu.
Oi. Okay.
Galana Kulalu.
Okay.
Remittance inflows from Australia jump 71% as UK's deep cash inflows wired by Kenyans living and working in Australia jumped 71.1% during the first 3 months of this year to hit $56.03 million, up from $32.7 million in a similar period last year. Now we talk about Australia. Do you know the same way we say Minnesota is for Kisses, Australia is for Kalenjin.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, a lot of them are there. Majority of them that I went to school with, everyone is in Australia.
Australia?
Yeah.
Sawa basi. Really quickly, before we go into that short break, Safaricom injecting 1.2 trillion shillings into the economy. The telco supports more than 1.2 million jobs. That's on the front page of The Star. Treasury CS in trouble with senators for snubbing invite. These people who just snub, just go. Look, in trouble. I don't know what in trouble means, but it looks like a fine or something. KRA eyes tax target after surpassing 2 trillion shilling mark. The revenue has hit the mark as of the 20th of April. Well, they're still a way off from what they need to do, and they have about a month or so to do it. I don't know if they will get to, I believe it was 2.3 trillion, 2.4 trillion. Will they make 400 billion in a month? It'll be interesting to see.
It'll be interesting.
Let's see how phone calls could be used to burst MP Were's murder mystery. This thing is still, still far away from it, but the investigation continues. All right, let's see what happens as we look into some of these details as they make the headlines. For now, let's take a quick break. We'll take a look at weather, traffic, and then we'll come back and look at stories in detail. So folks who are tuned in maybe a little bit later, but look, we see you, Julius Song. Very good morning to you. Kirua Kimboy Asante Sana. Georgia Timo, good morning. Tibbs Muge, good morning to you as well. Karibuni Sana as we get into the show this morning, 23 to 7. Weather, traffic, we'll be back with the stories after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
All right, taking a look at what's happening this morning. It's partly cloudy at 16 in Nairobi and a bit of a drizzle in parts of the city. 16 and cloudy into Nakuru with 15 and cloudy conditions into Nyeri. Eldoret this morning is cloudy at 14 and Mombasa cloudy at 25 with cloudy conditions at 26. Actually clear in Malindi. It's mostly cloudy at 19 into Kisumu with 18 and cloudy conditions in Kakamega. And we're looking into a clear Kampala at 20, going to highs of 27, and it's 24 and raining heavily in Dar es Salaam this morning. Temperatures dropping to 7 in Johannesburg and mostly clear, while Mogadishu at 27 is cloudy. Addis Ababa at 13 is sunny. Lagos is clear at 28 with clear and cloudy conditions at 23 into Kinshasa. We're looking at a cloudy Beijing Monday afternoon, and it's 14 and cloudy in Paris this morning with light rain showers at 14 in London. It's clear New York at 18 Sunday night, coming into Monday, highs of 25 and lows of 14.
We are Spice FM.
This May, the stage is set, the mic is on, and the search begins.
Welcome to Next Superstar.
From raw vocals to big talent, the search is on for Africa's next hit maker. Next Superstar is here. Premiering May 3rd at 8 p.m. exclusively on Remo TV Plus, StarTimes Channel 56 or Channel 166. Buy a DTT StarTimes decoder for only 1,399 bob or a DTH for 3,199 shillings to enjoy unlimited entertainment. Join judges Size 8, King Kaka, Motive, and hosted by Amina and Butita on Next Superstar. Renew your subscription on DTH Smart Bouquet at 1,199 shillings only, or DTT Basic Bouquet at 749 shillings only. You can dial *858# for self-service or call our customer care on 0730 710077. Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
Traffic.
All right, taking a look what's happening with traffic on the roads this morning at coming in from the Thika Superhighway all the way from Githurai through towards the underpass at Pangani. It is busy and it's getting to bumper already. It's also starting to build as we look at parts of Kiambu Road. Coming out of Westlands, traffic is also starting to do the thing, and it's quite busy as you then get through towards the CBD. All right, a quick look at what's happening as you come off of Langata Road, and nothing much. The Southern Bypass is not busy. You'll be fine from here, at least at this point. The Eastern Bypass busy as you go through towards North Airport Road, and some traffic on Outer Ring will take you through towards all stops at the junction out onto the Thika Superhighway. All right, keeping an eye on all of this and trying to keep it moving. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, at 19 minutes to 7 o'clock, looking into some of these stories in detail. We're going to look into this RSF tragic mission story. It's what's making the headlines, but in terms of what happens regionally for Kenya, very important for us to do that. Stay silent after Kenyan pilot killed, plane wrecked in Sudan's RSF mission. Oof, now. A Kenyan pilot flying a cargo aircraft was killed in a Sudanese military airstrike, intensifying scrutiny over Nairobi's entanglement, whether deliberate or inadvertent, in the civil war ravaging Sudan. His aircraft, a Boeing 727 under the control of the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, was struck by Sudanese armed forces on the morning of Saturday, May 3rd at Nyala Airport in South Darfur, an essential hub for the RSF. Now, among the casualties were a Kenyan pilot, and several others were also Kenyans. Their bodies were transported to Chad for identification, according to Sudanese officials. The pilot, George Nyamodi, has been flying missions in war-torn areas of Sudan and Chad. Many of his colleagues in the aviation sector describe the flying guru, who hails from Alego in Siaya County, as a humble and joyous gentleman who was truly sincere and honest. So they talk about how they flew with him. But following an assault with RSF and withdrew from Khartoum, calling it a tactical move. RSF leader Mohammed Hamdan Diaglo, otherwise known as Hemeti, vowed to return stronger and ruled out talks with SAF. The retreat followed SAF retaking key sites, including the presidential palace, and RSF fighters shifted to Omdurman, Darfur, and Kordofan. Now, obviously, this what looks like to me is that the conflict still continues. Yeah. This casualty of the Kenyan pilot looks like he was caught up in
in the fight.
In the fighting, this is what happened. I'm not sure that. So it was tragic in the sense that he did pass on, but the conflict does continue. That they have been fighting for some time, and as the war continues to ravage Sudan, this is unfortunately one of the sad casualties of the same. Now, if the state is tight-lipped about what exactly is going on, I don't know that it's for any kind of untoward reason, but it would be interesting to know what's going on. But that notwithstanding, the regional conflicts still continues, and Kenya is playing a key role in this, has always played a key role in the mediation efforts to get both sides to be able to at least sit at the table. Now, most recently, we did see that it would look as though Kenya was welcoming the RSF to come in and make, declarations of a parallel government, and in terms of what that did for Kenya's diplomacy, and what that did for any kind of, in this case, there would be tripartite talks between the two sides in Kenya, but I don't know what this bears now on that moving forward. The next couple of days will be interesting to hear how this comes out. We're going to have a discussion with the retired captain at 8 o'clock to be able to, get into some of this more, but it's important to do. I mean, this is just some of the stuff that's going on.
I mean, it's with the regional conflict that you continue to see, especially in Sudan, it is considered to be one of the worst problems that we have in the world right now, because we're talking about millions of individuals dying, and for some weird reason, also it is being said that the world is silent on the issue happening in Sudan. And with the development that we're seeing right now, I mean, it's perhaps an opportune time that the government came clean and stated its role, especially when it's seen to be cozy with the RSF leader, So I think it's about time that the government came clean and told Kenyans its role when it comes to this war in Sudan and what exactly it's doing there. Whether it's in talks, whether it's in finding peace.
What is the Kenyan position?
What is the Kenyan position on this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because so far one would say Kenyan position fine has been that you're looking for peace, but in what way? Are you talking to both sides or are you talking to one side?
Absolutely.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
So it's we wait to see what the government will say. We hope that they speak soon. Yeah. Now, let's look at this story because it's disturbing. The story on page 2 of bribes in schools.
Oi.
Now, parents have complained about being asked to pay huge bribes ranging from 40,000 shillings to 100,000 shillings to have their children admitted to popular public schools. Now, transferring a child to a popular public school is now an expensive affair, with the new parents forced to make huge payments. Couched in a raft of levies, with the total fees almost rivaling what is charged by private schools. The fees are much higher if you are trying to get your child from primary to junior school, another lucrative venture for head teachers who are cashing in on the competence-based curriculum. And parents fear that the rip-off, which was common during Form 1 admission, will escalate with admissions to senior school for the pioneer cohort learners who will join grade 10 in January. Now, the Nation investigation reveals public schools are demanding payments from new parents in two parts: a fee to secure a slot for their child and then more payment through a raft of levies. Parents are now questioning the free primary education government policy, as some of the popular primary schools are charging levies that are almost equal to private ones, and fees in public secondary schools are out of reach for some households. That is where we as a country.
For transfer of students, you're going to ask them to pay essentially equivalent to what they would pay in school fees.
Yeah.
Are they digitized?
And not just not school fees in public schools, but in private schools.
Why?
That's how much.
Why? It's just an appetite for extra cash?
It's just an appetite for extra cash, and knowing that at that point a parent is desperate to give their children the very best, to take advantage of that situation. Just tell a parent, if you don't give me the cash, there are other parents on the queue
who are desperate
to get it. So
you were like, I don't know.
Yeah. And you see now, like what they're saying here is it's about to even get worse in the first cohort who will be transitioning to grade 10. Because, grade 10 is where rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
Because there is where now you need, if your child is taking STEM, there's facilities that they need. So we know the schools that have these facilities and how parents will be crumbling to get those spots. If your child is into sports, we know which schools offer these facilities and are good at that. How many parents will flock those schools because those are their facilities available and ready for their children.
Oh my God, this is so scary.
Yeah, it is.
It's taking advantage of people in an already, tight situation. The situation is already volatile, and then now you take advantage of them. And then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Who do you run to? Who do you run to? The ministry who already is having issues, and then we complain about later on in the day when we're not preparing students for the job market in Kenya, and that we're not tuning, because look at all the things that happen in the interim. All of these things are contributing to a system that unfortunately is not solid.
Yeah.
And that this is in the public eye, that it is being reported today, doesn't mean that it started today.
Oh, it didn't start today. This thing started even during my days.
This is a practice that has been there, and it seems to be accepted.
Yeah.
That if you're trying to get into the school, so it's accepted behavior that you're going to have to grease. That you're going to have to grease somebody's palm in order to get in. What are we doing?
Yeah, it has always been like that, especially during, when the selection period, when students are getting into high school, you find that those parents who cannot afford fees for, say, the national schools and whatnot, and those empty slots are then dished out to he who has the deepest pocket. It has always been there. It's just that right now it's being highlighted here, but it's a practice that has been there, and seems as though the ministry and the TSC has always been quiet on it.
Yep,
but what are we doing to our children? What are we doing?
You have to ask, because this one is a bit crazy. It is. Okay, time to look at a number of other stories.
Okay.
Here it is. Just lost it there. Okay. Digital recruitment of police will eliminate corruption. Who has said this? The Inspector General for Police, Douglas Kanja. Kenyans aspiring to join the National Police Service will be required to apply online in future recruitments, the National Police Service Commission has announced. The NPC Chief Executive Officer Peter Lele, appearing before the Senate Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity and Regional Integration, confirmed that preparations are underway and that the proposal has been submitted to the Office of the Attorney General and the Ministry of Interior. Lele told the committee, chaired by Marsabit Senator Mohammed Chute, that candidates will be required to submit their applications via the NPSC portal by following the guidelines provided online. So now, this corruption that they're talking about removing is not all corruption. It's the corruption of recruitment. You understand? It's not the other corruption that police are involved in. Those other ones, we do something else.
So we just minimize the corruption when they're joining.
So that the corruption that normally takes place when people are joining, you have to grease people's palms.
200K,
I don't know what.
A million. Yeah.
No, so now with this digitization, we'll take care of it. That other corruption,
we'll sort it at a later
figure it out. We'll figure it out somehow. Now, Lele said, we have undertaken all necessary steps to ensure the next recruitment is conducted digitally. This will help seal corruption loopholes within the recruitment process. You understand? It's just within the recruitment process. All these other things, God help us. Now, he further informed the senators that medical examinations for shortlisted candidates will be carried out by the commission itself, unlike in the past where candidates were expected to present their own medical reports. So now you just don't go and bring your own, because it could be Ndu here who doesn't have a medical degree who writes you a letter. But now they will do that so they can ensure that it's actually the right thing. Because somebody has come before and said, my vision is 2020. And they join the police service and the report says 2020. Then they go and shoot and there's a target in front of them and they need to hit a watermelon and they end up shooting somebody because they cannot see. You understand what I'm saying?
The vision now is 1900.
Yeah. Something like that. I don't know. So they will use their own doctor.
Okay.
Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja also confirmed that the next recruitment will be conducted online. So everybody. However, he was pressed to explain the specific measures to eliminate bribery and promote integrity in the process. Senator Chute challenged Kanja to outline how the NPS would guarantee transparency and fairness. I also want to know how exactly you're going to do this. Kanja said the main goal of online recruitment is to eliminate the widespread bribery. We will only engage with shortlisted candidates after a rigorous review of the application. Okay. So Inspector of Police Douglas Kanja believes that everybody applying online, being able to track the process from A to Z, and making sure that shortlisted candidates then are informed online, and that you can also track the progress of your application online. He believes that all of these things will ensure that corruption and bribery during the recruitment process is eliminated. He believes this. Should we tell him?
It's good to believe.
Should we tell him?
You see, it's good to believe, but let's remember that even during the recruitment exercise, these kids still have to come out and run, and there is a lot that goes into place, your height and whatnot, and all those things are actually keyed in by an individual. That is an exercise that is there by a person
with fingers and a okay.
Yes,
I'm just checking.
So we were just starting from the basics before you even get to digitizing this thing. People have to be recruited from where they were born. You know what I mean? You have to go back where you were born and run. You have to be selected. You know, you could come last but still be number one, and still get it. There are those who are short, but still you can be tall and meet the required height for you to join the forces. You know, so it's anyway. It is good to believe.
No, it's good. It's good. It's very good. It's good.
Yeah,
so look, let me just say it. So long as the person who is inputting this information, even in the digitized system, so long as they are human from Kenya, okay.
Remember, one of the things in this country that is purely digitized is our elections.
Oh, okay. And there's no corruption there.
No corruption.
Yeah.
Well, have you seen any?
No.
No.
That's one of the ways that it actually
just
works.
saying that we perhaps need to equally just deal with corruption as a problem in the country. We need to address corruption from a point that we see heads rolling. Because fine, we will do all these things, but if we don't deal with the root cause of corruption, then perhaps people will always find a way of beating the system.
It's a system, exactly, that's the word. It's a system issue. That once we are all plugged into a system that is based on authenticity, integrity, and transparency, and that we all know, regardless of who is watching, that you will do the right thing at the right time, all the time. Until and unless you have people plugged into such a system, all of these things, if you like, you can digitize from here to Pluto. To Pluto.
Yeah.
But if you don't have people believing in maintaining the integrity of a system, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. We're just from reading a story here of public schools demanding fat bribes for new learners. This is a system that is digitized. Because remember, once you sit your KCPE exams, what do? It is the system that selects you. It is put on the portal. You know where it is you're going. You know, and in the event that you don't get to go there, what do head teachers do? Take advantage of the failures, take advantage of the system and beat the system, asking for bribes. So it is a question of dealing with corruption holistically because it is a system problem.
It is.
It is. It is. So, yesterday was Mother's Day.
Yes.
And let's just speak over mothers out here and what they have to say about their experiences, especially in the delivery rooms, right? Now, as the world unites to celebrate International Mother's Day, that was yesterday, 2025 theme celebrating motherhood, a timeless bond shines a light on the profound and unbreakable connection between mothers and their children. This theme honors the endless ways mothers nurture, uplift, and inspire their children through all stages of life. But what does it really take to bring a child safely into this world and truly earn the title of mother? In September 2021, Daisy Mitei, 31, arrived at Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital hoping for a smooth delivery. Calm and confident in her second-time mother instincts, she was quickly met with a harsh reality. Despite recognizing the unmistakable signs of labor, her expertise was dismissed and the care she received turned into a nightmare. A nurse looked me over and told me to go home. You don't look like you're due. Maybe come back in a month. I insisted I was. He sent me for an ultrasound where the sonographer suddenly became serious and said I needed to see my doctor urgently. When pressed, he mentioned the umbilical cord was wrapped around my baby's neck. Still, I was sent home. Deep inside, she believed there was something wrong. So Daisy returned to MTRH the following evening. Despite the emergency, no one seemed willing to attend to her. She was bounced between doctors and the labor ward. One even accused her of causing a scene. After a long wait, Daisy was told she'd have a cesarean section in 30 minutes with no emotional preparation.
Wow. Can you? I can't imagine. I can't even imagine what that would be like. How you? Well, and her story tells a story of many women who go through that.
Yeah.
Really tough to be able to imagine how that actually works.
It goes back to the bundle of joy, a celebration that is associated with having a child. And when complications like she's explaining happens, you hope and believe and trust that the system that is the healthcare of the country would come through for you. Because as she says, she felt something was wrong. But here you are with a professional who you trust with your life and dismisses you, only for you to come back and you're told, you know what? You need to go through a cesarean section, and there is no talk about it. There is no preparation. Now imagine the emotional torture of this lady when she was giving birth to her child, and the stress levels because the umbilical cord was tied on her baby's neck.
Yeah, like I said, this is what a lot of people go through, and then for you to have to be able to deal with that, it's actually
but we forever celebrate women out there, mothers out there, for amazing jobs you guys do. We see you, we know you, we love you, we appreciate you. Usiambiwe lolote.
Indeed. All right, getting into looking at what then happens at the top of the hour, and we'll continue to look into more of these details as we do. Good morning, 7 a.m.
Spice up.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has dared Public Service CS Geoffrey Ruko to resign, accusing the CS of inciting the public against the government. The two leaders were speaking in Embu during a meeting with over 5,000 Embu elders when Ruko called on the government to tarmac roads in the region.
Ile barabara ya Giyani kuelekea Momenje kwenda Kerie kufika Ishara, pia Your Excellency, hao wazee wanaomba uone kama hiyo barabara itaekwa rami mwaka huu.
In a rejoinder, Kindiki rebuked Ruku, reminding him that he cannot be criticizing the very government that he is serving.
Rais amekubahatisha, wazee wamekubariki, alafu wewe ndio unakuja kuchochea wananchi hapa, na ile mambo bado kutendeka. Badala ya urudi Nairobi usukume rais na deputy rais na cabinet ministers wenzako ifanyike, unakuja kuchochea wananchi hapa na kuleta chuki na kuleta uchachuzi na kulalamika kama mwananchi wa kawaida. Hiyo mambo unaniambia hapa sasa, wewe si mbunge tena, wewe ni waziri. Hiyo mambo umeniambia, tunaenda kusukuma na wewe. Serikali ni wewe. Kwa serikali ni nani tena?
As questions continue to emerge over whether Kithure Kindiki is lawfully in office, Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka now wants him to resign, noting that the Court of Appeal poked holes on his legitimacy as the Deputy President. Last Friday, the Court of Appeal directed Chief Justice Martha Koome to empanel a fresh bench to hear the cases challenging former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa's impeachment. The court said the bench, constituted by Koome's deputy Philomena Mwilu last October, failed to meet the constitutional threshold. According to Kalonzo, Kenya is now operating under a flawed leadership arrangement.
And we are very concerned with the state of the legal situation now before us. we clearly have a constitutional crisis. As we speak, we do not have a deputy president. We have 2 deputy presidents. Okay? And I respect Kithure Kindiki. He's from my part of the country. He should do the honorable thing and resign so that he can now allow due process to take place.
Meanwhile, Gachagua has expressed confidence that he'll secure justice.
I, regarding Gachagua, have confidence and faith in our judicial process. And the framers of the 2010 Constitution created 4 levels of judicial intervention: the Magistrates Court, the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. So that if you don't get justice in one of the levels of intervention, kama upati justice pale Magistrates Court, utapata High Court.
The National Assembly Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs is set to begin approval hearings for the 7 nominees to the IEBC. This follows a communication from the National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula confirming that he'd received a message from President William Ruto requesting parliamentary approval for the appointment of the IEBC chairperson and commissioners. The list of nominees proposes Erastus Endung as the chairperson and Andere Moses Mukhwana, Mary Sorobit, Hassan Noor, Francis Adwal and Fahima Abdallah as commissioners. Pope Leo XIV appealed for no more war in a message to world powers during his first Sunday address at the Vatican. Reflecting on current conflicts, the newly selected pontiff called for a lasting peace in the war in Ukraine, a ceasefire in Gaza, and welcomed Saturday's agreement to end recent hostilities between India and Pakistan. He said he was deeply hurt by events in Gaza, expressed hope for a lasting accord between India and Pakistan, and wished for an authentic, true and lasting peace in Ukraine. Pope Leo was chosen as the new leader of the Catholic Church last Thursday following the death of his predecessor, Pope Francis. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamir.
SpiceFM, Nakuru. Traffic.
All right, so what does it look like at a few minutes after 7 o'clock? It's a busy Monday morning, that's for sure. A quick look at the streets, and as we're coming off of the Eastern Bypass, quite some traffic as you approach North Airport Road and then getting on towards around Cabanas. Also on the Thika Superhighway, traffic is heavy coming into the city, and it's going to take you through towards Garden City and out towards Muthaiga Square. And then also traffic coming in from Kiambu Road is busy as well. It's pretty busy as you come off of Limuru Road this morning as you pass that United States Embassy Junction, coming out towards the Greater Limuru Road. That is busy. It's also pretty busy coming on Waiaki Way, and we'll see some traffic as you then get through. Ngong Road busy as well, and there is traffic coming off of Naivasha Road as you approach Ngong Road. So we're going to keep an eye on all of this. It's also busy as you come in from parts of Mombasa Road heading out towards the city. All right, so we'll keep an eye. Like we said, we'll talk, keeping things moving this morning. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It is 6 minutes after 7 o'clock, and a very good morning to you on this 12th day of May. And May is getting into it really quickly. And even as we do this morning, this is the Situation Room. Ndu and Dennis with you today on Kenya's biggest conversation. And we're getting into our first conversation for the week and into the morning. And as we do, we're looking at good governance, we're looking at succession politics, and essentially what Kenya needs. And as we do that, Martha Karua is here. And she is the party leader of the People's Liberation Party. She's here with us this morning, and of course no stranger to the room as we look at some of these issues. Martha, good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm good.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
It's a chilly morning, rainy out there.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
And but the sun will come through at some point, is what we are
Hopefully,
told.
yes.
And one could say the same thing for Kenya as well.
It's also such a long morning because it's not ending for Kenya. Yeah, but we have to work to make it sunny.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And we're being in which that could happen. And as you know, we normally would welcome you. If CT were here, you would hear it. But now he's delegated his powers to Dennis. And Dennis is going to share with you today's proverb. He'll tell you what country we are in this week. Okay. And he'll say welcome to you. You can then do an interpretation for us.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So today our proverb comes from a country that is in the northern part of the continent. And we are in Libya. Now, why Libya? Libya, if you just think of it, one thing that is synonymous with the country is Muammar Gaddafi and what he did for the people of Libya. Talk about education that was free from the basic to all the way to university. Talk about healthcare that was free. Talk about access to water, which is a problem because it is majorly a desert country. But one thing that also stands out is the resources that they do have. It is a country that is rich in oil that experts actually say it is one of rich and cleanest fuel in the world, and the reason why it is one of the biggest economic driver in that country. And the proverb today: the flute player dies with its finger shaking. The flute player dies with his finger shaking. How would you make of it?
I would still, maybe the way it translates to me is that because the flute player has his finger on the flute, so he still dies on the job doing it. And I think that would describe many people. It would describe mothers. It would describe politicians. It would describe many people who are passionate with what they do. They will die with their finger on the job. Yeah.
Indeed. It's people who are passionate with what they do would die with their finger on the job. I should write that down.
Yeah.
Use that sometime, It's great, and just taking that and seeing how we can apply that to Kenya's real politic today. There are many things. There seems to be a cacophony of sounds right now, Martha.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking, everybody's declaring, everybody's proclaiming, everybody's saying that they're the best man or woman for the job. And the question is then, currently, from your point of view, one who has been in the trenches of Kenya's politics for a while, what does good governance entail before we go to who is the person who will then be able to deliver it?
I think good governance is strictly adhering to the rules that are set down. And we know of rules. Even in a chama, you cannot go, sit down, and everybody begins talking. There has to be some form of order. Some of it is unspoken, others are written. In a club, and many middle income people belong to certain clubs, there has to be some rules. You can even be expelled. The same in a school. In a country, which is the biggest chama or organization for us, in a country or club called Kenya, our rules are the laws of Kenya, the constitution and the laws made under it. When we adhere strictly to them, there will be good governance. We will follow what the constitution says about public money and spending and the law. We will apply whatever we apply, whether it is resources, financial resources or human resources, or natural resources, any resource, for the best interests of the people. We will not utilize public resources as though they were our own. In the absence of good governance, you see people enriching themselves instantly. They hit positions of power and decision making. you will see them applying public resources to buy themselves fuel guzzlers, the latest, to spend on themselves, pampering themselves, whether it's their offices, and sometimes stealing and refusing to acknowledge the boundary between the public and what belongs to them. And therefore, we suffer. Yeah, so good governance is about following the rules that are laid down. Yeah, and then everything else can flow. The country will run as a going concern. The doctors in the hospitals will act in the best, or the personnel will act in the best interest of the people. There will be no theft of medicine. There will be no absence at work while you are in your own private clinic. You utilize every minute for the public. If it's teachers, the same. Capitation, once it comes, will not be diverted. It will be used in the best interest. Those who are at Treasury will not be late in delivering money, whether it's a capitation to schools, whether it's to the counties. Today, what is happening is that even though we have devolved power and resources, we are creating millionaires and billionaires every day, at the county level and also at the national level, and the public is getting nothing. This is an example of a country where there is total absence of good governance and where impunity reigns supreme because there is no enforcement of the rules that we have agreed on.
And the rules that we have agreed on is the Constitution of the country 2010,
and the laws under it.
Yeah. And it is so clear on day and night on what needs to be done. Yet one looks at a situation where things like court orders are being disrespected, fidelity to the rule of law, respecting human rights are things that are happening in the country day in, day out. And one would want to ask, if this is the supreme law that the highest leadership of the country swore to protect and uphold, the police as well, where does common mananchi go to?
This is the thing, as they say, the fish rots from the head. We have seen impunity in the highest office. When Dr. Ruto answers to Raila's question, I think it was in Migori, in December, January this year, December of 2024, January this year, I can't remember exactly when the meeting was, when Raila says there shouldn't be abductions, and Ruto answers, yes, but let parents tell their children to behave.
Yes.
He's acknowledging deliberate wrongdoing, deliberate violation of human rights, and justifying it, all giving a threat that you continue, I continue. So what is he saying? Because those arrested are those, and those who turn up dead or tortured are those who, the common thread is that they've been critical of him or his regime. They are making satire out of his utterances and the things he does, his actions. So he's acknowledging deliberate wrongdoing. It's unfortunate that the court has not been able to resonate with that thinking so far. But because the cases are ongoing, we will try to put our best foot, because the footprints that it is the government are there. And anybody who was in doubt cleared that doubt when the former CS for public works and not public works, public service and Attorney General Muturi let Kenyans know that when his son was abducted, it's Ruto himself who ordered for his release. So if you didn't connect the dots, what more do you need? That is an uncontroverted statement. Nobody has tried to dispute it because it's as clear as day and night, and the evidence is the release of his son.
Right.
So even in the situation of human rights, we have the cases in courts. We have people who turned up dead. We have two who have never been accounted for, and all the police can say it wasn't me. Let's assume it wasn't the authorities, an impossibility, but let's assume for the sake of argument, If it wasn't them, we pay them to know what's going on in the country. A year on, you tell us it wasn't me, and you're not telling us who it was. Contrast that with the murder case of the late MP Ongondo Werere. Within days, they pieced everything together. By the way, that's how good our security agents are. That's how well they are equipped, that they can piece everything together. But they have time. They don't have time to tell us what is happening to citizens, especially the young who've been disappeared, arrested, or murdered, or women who are victims of femicide, and there are so many. But within hours, they can piece together what happened to the late MP. They can even get the movements. It means they know, but they won't disclose, and they won't do anything about it.
Why do you think that is?
Impunity.
Because if we look at a situation whereby the very first port of call, if we look at it like a spend, and the first charge should be the security and the care and of the livelihoods of the citizenry. If that should be the first charge.
You got it right. A regime that will not guarantee security of its citizens and their property does not deserve to be in office or to exist. That's the first charge. Over whom are you governing if it's not on behalf of the people? If you can't secure them, you don't need to be there. And you need to maintain law and order. The sort of insecurity we are having, and you hear the speaker telling Parliament that they should secure themselves. What about us? The country is as secure for the citizens as for the MP. Even if you have 20 bodyguards and there is insecurity outside, you're not secure. I don't know why they don't get it. Get the country to be secure. You will not need to divert police to guard individuals. You will be as free as everybody else to move around. So this is bad governance that has gotten us where we are. And I'm glad this is the question you're asking today. The problem with Kenya, put in a nutshell, is bad governance. That is what is affecting our health service, our security, our education, our economy. Because when you divert funds and they don't go to serve the people, or are not, if it's for development, they are not invested, they've gone to fatten bank accounts of the people. You are literally eating the jobs of the young, which could be created if the money was invested. And then you're shipping them to do menial jobs abroad. No country can develop without its human resource. So we should be creating an enabling environment for the economy to grow, for industry to grow, for little startups, the SMEs to grow. And by the way, in case anybody didn't know, the SME collectively are the greatest investor in Kenya.
Of the economy, essentially.
So when you are going to give 20-year tax holidays to those who invest 3 billion, that's what I saw the suggestion, then, and you're overtaxing your largest and most dependable sector, the SME, it means your reasoning is upside down. First, look at your most dependable and your employer, and those are Kenyans. Tax us in a way we can afford, not in a way that you starve us, you make us unable to pay for the education of our children, you are not even giving us services commensurate. That is terrible governance, and it will grind this country to a halt economically. Today, even the middle class are no longer smiling. People who have mortgages have difficulties in paying them. People who have car loans have difficulties paying them. If you look at the pages of the newspaper, you see the auctioneers and all that.
Yeah, we spoke about that earlier. Yeah.
It means poverty is increasing, not decreasing. And then we see our leaders in conspicuous consumption. So they are not only taking from us, but they're showing us, they're flaunting it in our faces. and sort of saying utadu. This is where we are.
And you see, flaunting it, they have, because we also go back to the June 25th protest and what the young people and Kenyans pretty much are pushing for, that you are choking us with the taxes that you are imposing on us. And what happened immediately, even if you go a little bit back when the president visited the United States and the 200 million shillings jet and what that conversation happened, then the Gen Z protest, and the president stood outside State House and told Kenyans, moving forward, we will tighten our belts, we will live as per our, as according to our means and whatnot. But then again, a little bit later, the president himself goes against the promises that he gave to Kenyans, that there will be no Harambes. He's chief Harambe person out there going against what he promised. And one begs to ask, if the head of the state himself cannot live up to his promises, why would any Kenyan out here give him any time with regard to what he says? Can any Kenyan trust the president or the leadership of the country today?
This is precisely the problem. For the first time, State House is occupied by a person who will lie continuously without batting an eyelid, who will tell Kenyans one thing and do another. Even when he sacked his entire cabinet, he had promised he's cleaning up. He brought more of the same. And the story continues. Kenyans, we are on our own. And we have to use the sovereignty that is entrenched in the Constitution, the sovereignty of the citizen, to change the situation. And I do remember that the call of the Gen Z was transparency and accountability. And I want to say that I'm glad the seeds they sowed, unfortunately watered by the blood of the Gen Zs, are germinating, because now the religious leaders, and especially the Christians, because that's where Harambes occur. I haven't heard of Harambes in a masjid. Have now started coming out themselves to say, we don't want your money. Do not come to do this in our forums. Even though it's not everyone 100%, that echoes the calls of the Gen Z when they were saying occupy the churches.
Right.
It is not 100%, but it's beginning. If you listen to the conversation with the people and the conversation we have to have so that we can, as a people, elect good leadership, is the role of money in Kenyan politics. Do we want to continue with transactional politics, which makes us get the worst of the worst? Is it about money? If your church is given 20 million and promised 100, will that transform your access to health, your children's access to education? Will it transform your security, the core things that a state must look after, or your cost of living? Those are the questions. So what we need from leadership is not money. We just need their service. And we have to ask, who then should fund our politics?
I think if we can get, Martha, you've been in this position for a while.
Yeah.
And if we can be real about these conversations that we have, and that, I've written down what you've said, that the seeds they sowed, watered by the blood of the Gen Z, are starting to germinate, and they're starting to grow. That we see a situation where, more often than not, political expediency, personal growth, personal influence far outrides and outweighs the need for the protection of the livelihoods of people, or good governance, or things like that. And we have to ask the question that why? And beyond the why, who is the one then? That who is going to come in banded together with others who will actually realize, acknowledge, and then begin to act on and implement those things which will foster and maintain this livelihood that we talk about. Because it's not more than that.
Let us not ask who is the one. That's where we start going wrong. Let us ask who are the ones. Why? In Kenya, we concentrate on one post, the presidency. I want to urge us to look at the 6 elections that are done together. Your most important person in your day-to-day agenda is your governor and your MCA, who form the county government. Health, education infrastructure, other infrastructure like water, roads, and all that belong to the county. Markets, which are a livelihood, all those things, even agriculture, belong to the county. So you must start thinking. Think small to begin with. Think about your ward. Who should be the leader? Who can lead reforms in your ward? And if in Nairobi, 85 wards are concentrating on finding the best leadership for themselves moving forward, that makes the Nairobi County. And if we have good MCAs, the governor they get will be held to account by this. So think in the first instance of your MCA, of the governor, you've sorted your county government. Then go ahead and think about national leadership. Think about your members of parliament, who are the constituency MP, the women rep, and the senator. You're thinking about them because they're the ones who will hold the national government to account. And the senator will preside of the share of revenue that comes to your county. The national parliament will also, the National Assembly will also be in that debate. So think about them as the one presiding over the share of the national cake and also as watchdogs. So get men and women of character. Then finally, get a good president because they're the ones driving policy and the governance direction in the country. But therefore, if you think of who is the one, you are going wrong. Who are the ones? And you be very deliberate, very intentional about each of the posts. And for all of them, you need people of integrity. You need people of proven track record. And when I say this, it doesn't mean only those who have been in power. A fresh person who has never been near an office has a record with the community. You are known in your community, whether young or old. What type of a person are you? Are you a people person? Are you a person of empathy? Do you help? Do you connect with the people? What is your character? You know, there must be something you are known for by even your schoolmates and those who know you. Let's go for people of character. But what we've been doing in Kenya is that when people flaunt wealth, when people come with sloganeering, what we do is even delete the previous history we knew. So you tell people this person is corrupt, they tell you better that one who shares with us. You know, reason is thrown out of the window. I am saying this is the good window between now and sometime like now next year, when people are calm and can reason, when people can assess the hardships they are going through, and when we can tell each other, if we don't change, we shall go deeper into this hole. Things will get worse, not better. Yet we have the power to transform. We need this conversation. The role of money in politics. Who will fund the parties and who will fund candidates? Because if cartels fund the parties and candidates, cartels will come to draw their pint of blood. And that's your resources, good governance out of the window. People, membership of the party and its supporters should fund it. And it doesn't mean you stop doing the things you do for yourself. It means if a majority are funding, a little from each person will do. It is the same people who must fund candidates. Unless if you're taking it that coming into a leadership office is a job where you go to look for money for yourself to fill the gaps you created during the campaign period. I came into politics when people were not deep in transactional politics in the 90s. As a young woman, I was able to defeat an entrenched and very wealthy person. The youth funded me, you can say that, because when they volunteer to go door to door, when they volunteer to guard me and my family home against threats, you can quantify that into money. So I'm a product of the youth. I came in as a youth, a product of the youth. I want to tell the youth, those who feel called to serve, youth of integrity, you can come onto this scene without money, but your campaign will be longer than the campaign of those who come well oiled. It took me the whole of 92, from January to December, but I won.
It's true.
Going round small, to football teams, to where? You know, I got support, massive support, and I won. And thereafter, I won 3 more elections, making a total of 4 consecutive terms. I want to tell not just the youth, even those of my age and the middle age, those who feel called upon to serve, you don't have to have money. I have gone through elections. I never have money in a place kept. I always mobilize.
Right.
Resources are to be mobilized. Be bold. But I'm also telling Kenyans, let us have a culture of not expecting money from the party or the candidate. It is you who funds your muradi. If you have a water project, an electricity project, if you're repairing a section of the road that is bothering the neighborhood because the authorities are not responding, it is you who even physically carries the pebbles, the stones to go and put there.
Together.
So the same, the party and the campaign of an individual. Hii ni muradi ya kuboresha uongozi Kenya. Muradi haiwezi ikakupatia pesa. Ni wewe utatoa pesa kwa muradi na jasho lako.
Okay.
So we need to change. Transformation begins with you and me. This is where we must start. And if we don't, those who have robbed us, then we'll be the front runners.
And can those who are looking at a fresh face into Kenya's politics actually go it alone without those who've been there before? I want us to take a break and come and look at that, because it has formed the basis for a lot of already political friction between what you would call the classes of age. Martha Karua, the party leader for the People Liberations Party, is here with us this morning, and we're looking at some of these issues around good governance. Which way Kenya going into the next election cycle? She says it's not just one person, but that it's all the people across the spectrum that need to be looked at or looked into. We will continue this when we come back from this break. Martha Karua with us in the Situation Room this morning in the hot seat. We'll look at some of those issues and a little bit more when we come back after we look at weather and traffic, and it continues after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
16 degrees and partly sunny conditions in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 25, and it's 16 and cloudy into Nakuru with sunny conditions at 15 in Nyeri. 15 and sunny into Eldoret, while Mombasa is cloudy at 25. Malindi at 26 is sunny. 21 and cloudy conditions in Kisumu with 17 and partly sunny conditions into Kakamega. It is sunny in Kampala at 20 with heavy rain at 24 in Dar es Salaam. Cloudy at Johannesburg at 7, while Mogadishu is sunny at 28. Addis is sunny at 17. It's clear at 27 into Lagos with cloudy conditions at 23 in Kinshasa.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Traffic.
All right, a quick look at what it looks like now on the streets. We are into traffic hour, and it's quite heavy as you come off the Thika Superhighway through into the CBD. Also looking at quite some traffic coming in as you go into a westerly direction. You get off on Limuru Road and there's traffic there. Kiambu Road before that, traffic as well. And Lower Kabete towards Spring Valley is very busy. Waiaki Way as you get into the city is also going to give with some traffic as well, right around that Wangari Maathai area as you head then towards Westlands. As you come off of Naivasha Road heading towards Ngong Road, and Ngong Road coming in from Karen is busy as you come then through the city. Starting to look like bumper to bumper on Langata Road as you come off of Magadi Road, and coming in from Ngong itself, there's quite some traffic as you then approach the Eastern Bypass, then towards Embakasi and North Airport Road. Busy as well. Beehive of activity as we enter into traffic hour. Let's keep our wits about. Talk to us about what's going on where you are. SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
At 23 minutes to 8 o'clock, Martha Karua is with us in the studio this morning. And we're looking at good governance. We're looking at the next stint that Kenyans will have an opportunity to cast their vote. But beyond casting a vote, I'm really starting to look at the vote casting as an expression. It's an expression of what you feel. Whether it is influenced, that expression, or whether it is one that is thought of on your own as an individual. But when you talk about young people, and this has been the thrust of a lot of conversations over the last, 12 months or so, that the young people, fresh faces, new ideas, new people then need to come onto the scene. But before we went to the break, you were telling us, I didn't have money. I went from, I did this. I put together football tournaments. And that's how I was able to build social capital that then allowed you to get into the place where you won 3 elections thereafter and then rose.
By the way, I didn't even put football tournaments. I would go where people are playing football. To speak to them. With what could I have put football tournaments
together?
So what I would like to say is this. I dislodged an oldie as a youth. Anybody who feels that we are occupying their space as oldies, come, dislodge me. Dislodge the next person. It's a competition. Nobody's going to give you on a platter. And I want to say they are young, intelligent, well-informed people of character who can drive this nation. But they're also young, informed, but rotten. You'll find people of integrity in all ages. You will find rotten people in all ages, from the young to the old. And we know that and we've seen it. So what I would say, it's not all about ageism. It's about people of character, people of integrity. Ask and look at the background of each candidate. Elect them because you truly believe that they can drive the transformation that we need. But I also want to admit, we cannot have a government that does not include the youth. They are a significant, they actually are a super majority. But like in a government, we also cannot have a government of youth only that excludes everybody else. Kenya is a family. It's the largest family unit we have in the country. You start with your own family, your clan, the community around you, and it gets bigger. The biggest family is Kenya itself. And that family is going to have all demographies. It will have the youth, it will have the middle-aged, it will have the oldies, it will have people with disabilities, it will have all shades. You never go to throw overboard your parents in a family business because you have become of age. You work together. So I'm saying get people of integrity in all the posts, and be they young, be they middle-aged, be they old, and let them steer this nation. Let those who feel called upon to serve not those who feel called upon because they think it's a glamour job, which will allow self-aggrandizement. Let there be a call to service. And for those of us who've been on the seat, ask us to account for the period we were there. I'll be very happy to do that. I haven't been in an elective office for the last almost now 13 going to more years.
Yes.
My voice has not faded because it's not about money or position. It's a calling to serve my nation. Otherwise, all this time I've not been on your pay. I should have disappeared. I haven't.
Indeed.
So count the record of everybody. Ask me to account for when I was water minister, and I'll tell you of the water sector reforms. Ask me to account for when I was Minister of Justice, and I'll tell you the biggest achievement is leading the enactment of a framework that helped, legal framework that helped to complete the constitutional process. Ask me to account as a parliamentarian, and I'll tell you that I've stood for rule of law and human rights and democracy, even before I entered Parliament, through Parliament. And my last days in Parliament as a backbencher, I also stood for the Constitution. And I will even tell you that marketing the Constitution to the people and campaigning for it to pass, I'll tell you I was right in the midst. I'll tell you I've been in civil society. I'm ready to answer all those hard questions.
That's true.
Take us through all that interrogation. And for those who have not occupied any position, interrogate how they fit into the communities they're in.
So then one must ask, even as we do that, Martha, is that, it's said that, a picture says 1,000 words, can tell 1,000 words, you know. So when we see you in the company of others who would be running for political seat, at one point or another, who want to be president, who want to be the next, next big thing to hit town, one would have to ask the question, Martha, that folks who may have a checkered past, you are in their presence. What does that mean, or what does that portend?
What it means is that we have a coalition, or we are building one, where we have agreed that we will be guided by our collective values. Article 10 on national values and principles of governance. So it doesn't matter where you are coming from, but once we meet together, our North Star is Article 10. That moving together, this is how we espouse. And because to defeat a dictator or an authoritarian rule like what is Dr. Williams Ruto's rule has become, people who personalize rule and are not following any rules are authoritarian. To defeat such an entrenched system, entrenched in 2 years, but now having deep roots, we need each and every vote.
So you're saying all hands on board, no matter who it is?
I haven't finished my sentence.
Okay, sorry.
We need everybody on board. And we never ask for your CV before you vote. The duty of scrutinizing any candidate who offers themselves for any post, the 6 of them I said, belongs to the public. So if Martha Karua says, I want to be the chief executive of Kenya, which is president, scrutinize me. If Kamau says, or Kiprotich, that they want a post, whatever the post, it could be CEO, it could be MCA, put them under the same, but we must build a coalition guided by the desire to remove the government in power and to install a better government. Remove the other side of the coin, better. We collectively as Kenyans must assess the better and put in the better. So a coalition to drive out, to remove this vehicle which is stuck in the mud. And which requires heavy lifting. All of us together, and we move together that way. But the Constitution doesn't change, it's constant. So the demands on electing good leadership remains, and we have bound ourselves by the values of the Constitution. So this conversation is to remind Kenyans, you are the ones who will decide who occupies the seat from MCA in your area, you will make the county government, and you will make the national government. And Kenya is going to be transformed, a ward at a time, a county at a time, and a nation. Counties making the nation. Yeah.
So here's a question of the need to have a good leaders through a political system comes forth the conversation around political parties and how they're managed.
Yeah.
And this goes into place during nomination, and we see situations or reports of someone was given a certificate simply because they paid. Or someone was, for some weird reason, never was present in the party registrar. And also the purpose and the role that a political parties registrar plays in making sure that the political parties that are there in the country play by the rule is equally important as other justice system in making sure that we have the best politicians, EACC to do its job, the DCI to do their job. So if you look at the entire system that brings forth proper politicians, clean politicians, it's a role that everybody must play.
Indeed.
Yet we don't see that happen. So as we start the conversations towards 2027, Kenyans need to push to ensure that everything is done by the book?
Absolutely, and thank you very much for bringing that angle. It goes to the individual responsibility by all the people in the governance and electoral system. If you're holding a position in a public space, I start with public, but it's, so to speak, it's any space, but I'm emphasizing on public space. You who is a doctor somewhere, you who is a teacher, you who is a presiding officer in a court, or an electoral official from the clerk to the commissioner, you are bound by the Constitution to act in the best interests of Kenyans. And a country is as good as the people who drive it. A constitution is as good as the people who implement it. You as an individual, me and you, we have a role in driving this nation. Not just holding leaders to be accountable, by accounting for our own actions. So if you're driving corruption, and corruption is not just taking money, it's receiving our salary while doing your own things and not serving us. It's a form of corruption. Members of parliament must listen to this. Having no quorum all the time, because you have become tenderpreneurs and you are chasing tenders, in the very same government you should be holding to account. At the county and at the national level, you're stealing for us. We pay you every month for work not done. It's a form of corruption, very hurtful form of corruption. So we are saying, as individuals, we need to change. Kenya is where it is, not just because of the leadership, but because of me and you as a voter, deciding not to look at the track record and qualifications, because of me and you as professionals, as people in authority, abusing our authority and not acting in the best interests of Kenyans. It is a blot on our professionals. They are the ones, we are the ones, I'm a professional, we are the ones manning the judiciary. We are the ones manning the IEBC. We are the accountants that try to hide the theft of our money. We are the road engineers. We are the everything that is driving this country. Let us reassess and look at our roles. And that's where I like to say, because the citizens say, viongozi ni wale wale, nyani ni wale wale, na msitu ni ule ule. Nataka kuwakumbusha, the citizens ni wale wale. Wale munapitisha watu ambao hawafai. Wale mnasema beta hawadhifu. Let us admit collectively, we have all been responsible for what is happening.
Kenyans want a better Kenya. And you know, I've often been of the position that to an extent, it doesn't matter who is in that position. That if that person is doing what Kenyans need, and we had a conversation here a couple of days ago about what Kenyans really want. Kenyans are not looking for some lofty pie in the sky idea about, okay, let's build, you know, waterways above and let's... Kenyans want the basic. Can I be safe that my child can walk from point A to point B and nothing will happen to them?
Yeah.
Can I be sure that my young adult will not be abducted because they've opened their mouth in protest?
Yeah.
Can I go to hospital and make sure that I will get services? Can my children go to school in a public school and the capitation that was supposed to be sent from government will actually get to them? Can I, as a budding entrepreneur or a business woman or whatever, then work within a conducive environment where this business can flourish? These are the things that Kenyans want.
Indeed.
All the rest, in as much as they may be great, for now in this space, are trappings. So the question is then, the people who are there or the people who are putting themselves up, are they able to deliver this very basic? If the basic cannot be delivered, I don't think anybody has any business doing anything else.
Let me speak for myself and say this because I've expressed my desire to be CEO.
Yes.
I would promise that the Martha Karua administration would ensure that there is a just economy that works for everybody, not just for a clique of elites. A just economy is the one that prioritizes the needs of the people, where revenue collected is applied for the priorities of the people, the basics, which are in Article 43. Health, let's start with security, health, education, and infrastructure, and also to ensure that people have access to food. Those are the basics in life. We need also to have just taxation, which means that you're not taxed beyond what you can endure. Right. Taxation is not a punishment. It's a contribution to the services that you enjoy. You tax people, you must have commensurate services. But in Kenya, taxation has become a punishment and no commensurate service. You cannot do those things. You cannot have a just economy without good governance, because we started there. That's how the funds are siphoned out. Having, piling debts on Kenyans' present and future generation is not how you run a just economy, especially when that debt is not used to develop, but ends up creating billionaires and millionaires and pampering the comfort of a few. In fact, the Constitution and the laws tell you that you cannot borrow for recurrent expenditure. So it's bad governance. Even the matter of debt is bad governance. When you have enforcement of the laws across the board, that is the only way you can stop this entrenched impunity. Make sure that the systems work. The justice system runs, not cases staying for so long and then disappearing. Not when the wealthy are convicted, they get out the same day. When the chicken thief is languishing, is having the law apply across the board. So interview us. Anybody who says they want a position, whether MCA, conduct thorough interviews. The way you conduct for your milkman, and if you heard that the milkman had stolen just a small liter of milk and from your neighbor, you would not employ them. But for national issues, we gloss things over, yet these affect millions. A bad leader is bad even to their own community. The ills of Shah Chief are countrywide. Anything good affects everybody.
Indeed.
And positively. The way when Kibaki said free primary education, it wasn't for only those who supported him. It was for the whole
everybody.
country. When Ruto says punitive taxes, he doesn't use the word punitive, but that's what they are. Everybody is suffering. It's not a question of communities. So do not look at the community the person comes from. Look at their ability. The community doesn't matter. We as politicians are the ones who come with the issue of community because we want to clothe ourselves with the votes from our backyards before we move forward. It's not about where you come from. It's about who you are and your actions. That's what we must be looking for.
The implementation of the Constitution is key in making sure that we have a just country where everything is important. Yet in the Constitution that we have, you look at independent bodies. Parliament says today they are unable to do their job because, for some weird reason, state capture. Judiciary is there as well, going through the problems and whatnot. What will it take for this Constitution finally to work for Mwananchi?
It will take you and me, and it will take appointments of people who are capable. The judiciary has checks and balances. The check and balance of the judiciary is the Judicial Service Commission. If you corruptly means bending the law to appoint people who should never be near a Judicial Service Commission, the result you get is the judiciary we have. Because then the appointments even of the officers will be skewed. Presently, we have some very good judicial officers. We have terrible judicial officers as well. You never can get it right 100%, but we should not have a situation where the bad almost overpowers the good. We see sparks of light in decisions sometimes among the magistrates. We become more steady at the High Court, although we also have terrible ones in the same High Court, because are our rights protected? Are we protected from abduction? Do you feel that? I don't think we do. We have some very good judicial officers in the Court of Appeal. I am unable to see light when you go up to the Supreme, because the work done by the High Court and by the Court of Appeal is somehow getting a reversal without jurisprudential, something to convince us that it is good judgment coming from SCOC. And I'll just give one example. The 2023 Finance Bill, rejected by the High Court as unconstitutional, rejected by the Court of Appeal as constitutional, somehow sanitized by the Supreme Court without them boldly overturning the ruling that it's unconstitutional. So some contradiction there. Yeah. So what I would say is that for institutions to work, those appointed to those institutions are the ones who make it. Even though the word independent is written in the Constitution, the institution will be as independent as your mind. Kindly, dear professionals, don't apply for a job you can't do. And if you apply and get there and find it's too hot, please go home. Let other Kenyans take it up. There are enough Kenyans who can do it. Whether it is a political job or a professional job, leave us alone. Kenyans can get other people to do it.
I mean, our time is winding down, but I've got to ask you this as we go towards, the end of that, is that, so now what is the chatter about? That whether a deputy CJ was then able to call the case against now, who is one that, you are in the same circles with, and that is a former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, that whether his case should have been called by a deputy, whether it shouldn't have been, whether he did have the right to remain. What are your thoughts around all of
that? That
this?
decision was wrong of upholding a bench constituted by the Deputy Chief Justice when the Chief Justice is within the country, when she has not been left acting. It would create chaos in the world even of common sense, where the headmaster is in the school and the deputy makes a decision for the headmaster. The headmaster has not gone on a journey and left him acting. You cannot have that situation, even from a common sense point of view. So what that means, therefore, is that that bench was not properly empowered, and therefore the orders that emanated from it need to be reversed. It means when the next bench is formed, they may arrive at a decision different from that. And even if they were to validate the actions done, it means in the interim, Kindiki becomes illegitimate. He's an illegitimate DP. Okay? And it means the person, because those are the orders that paved way to the swearing before the case could be determined. Remember, the case has not yet been determined. So it means the substantive DP in office is none other than the second Deputy President of the Republic, Rigathi Gachagua. He is impeached because up to there, the decision has to come and be reversed by the court. But it means it is not time to appoint any other person
in the interim.
So we are in that limbo. And Kindiki knows it as a lawyer. He is illegitimate.
My goodness.
That decision illegitimized him. And those of us, I'm sure even from a common sense of view, who saw the court quickly allowing the swearing in, instead of utilizing that time to quickly determine the question. Because what comes before? Is it the chicken or the egg? They should have determined the legitimacy of the impeachment without delay before anybody else is sworn in. The country was not in any crisis
at that time.
Yeah.
Martha Karua, thank you so much for being here with us this morning. It's interesting to get your views on all of these issues, as well as, the last bit and what we push for. And to have these conversations all the time is what is absolutely necessary. Thank you so much for being here. Martha Karua is the party leader of the People Liberation Party. She's been our guest this hour. Good morning. It's 2 minutes past 8.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamera. A suspect believed to be the gunman behind the fatal shooting last month of Kasipul MP Ong'ondo in Nairobi is expected to be arraigned at the JKIA court. Isaac Kuria alias Kush was arrested yesterday in Esebania near the Kenya-Tanzania border. Detectives said Kuria, whom they've linked to criminal networks operating within Nairobi, was planning to flee the country. The detectives believe Kuria had traveled to the CBD on the day of the murder, where he trailed Were's movements before shooting him. Were was shot 4 times on the 30th of April near the City Mortuary roundabout on Ngong Road while seated in his Toyota Crown. Kuria's arrest brings the total number of suspects in police custody to 11. As political realignments begin to take shape ahead of the 2027 general elections, PLP leader Martha Karua has urged Kenyans to elect leaders who champion for good governance. Speaking when she appeared on the ongoing Situation Room show here on SpiceFM, Karua likened Kenya to a club which has rules, with members required to abide by them or be expelled. She called on Kenyans to elect leaders with integrity, emphasizing that such leaders would strictly adhere to the rule of law.
In a country or club called Kenya, our rules are the laws of Kenya, the constitution and the laws made under it. When we adhere strictly to them, there will be good governance. We will follow what the constitution says about public money and spending and the law. We will apply whatever we apply, whether it is resources, financial resources or human resources, or natural resources, any resource, for the best interests of the people.
This event comes as former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has emphasized that he's working with Karua and other opposition leaders to ensure that President William Ruto fails to get re-elected.
Nimepangana na Martha Karua, nimepangana na Kalonzo Musyoka, nimepangana na Eugene Wamalwa, nimepangana na George Natembea, nimepangana na Fred Matiang'i. Ndio sisi tumekubaliana kati ya sisi tutoe mtu mmoja. Kwanza wakisema ni mimi, hiyo mtu nitampeleka kama baiskeli ya kuibiwa. Kwa sababu hii mtu lazima tupeleke nyumbani. Kwa sababu amehangaisha nchi yetu, na amehangaisha jamii yetu, na amehangaisha watu ya hapa nyumbani. Nikisema harambe, mnasema one time. Harambe!
Kibwezi West MP Mwengi Mutuse has dismissed opposition leaders critical of President William Ruto's list of IEBC commissioners and chairperson. Last Friday, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka and his DAP Kenya counterpart Eugene Wamalwa claimed that President William Ruto had single-handedly constituted the IEBC. Mutuse said the IEBC selection process for commissioners and chairperson was consultative, stating that the commission followed due process.
Juzi hata jana nimeona viongozi wanapiga makelele nyingi, na nataka munisikize kwa mambo matatu. Kuna wale wanasema kwamba wale makamishna na chairman ambao wameteuliwa, the process was not consultative. Nataka niwaeleze kwamba hii ilikuwa consultative kwa sababu ilianza Bomas, NADCO, ambayo ilikuwa imeongozwa na Kalonzo Musyoka na Kimani Ichung'wah. Hapo ndio walituletea sheria ya bunge, katika bunge sheria ya IBC. Wakasema selection panel ikuwe expanded.
This even comes as the National Assembly Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs prepares to begin approval hearings for the 7 nominees to the IEBC. The list of nominees proposes Erastus Ndung as the chairperson and Anne Deritu, Moses Mukwana, Mary Sorobit, Hassan Nur, Francis Adwola and Fahima Abdallah as commissioners. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he's ready to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin personally in Istanbul on Thursday for talks over ending the war. His post on X came shortly after Donald Trump demanded Ukraine to agree to Putin's offer of direct talks between the two countries in Turkey. He'd earlier said his country was open to talks with Russia, but only after a ceasefire was in place. Western powers called for a 30-day pause in fighting to begin on Monday after European leaders spearheading the so-called coalition of willing met in Kyiv on Saturday. Putin's offer of direct talks followed that intervention. That's the News Wire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Traffic.
All right, let's take a look at what's going on the streets this morning. It's a busy morning. The sun is up, and after that morning sprinkle, it's traffic galore. Where they're coming off of the Eastern Bypass, heading out towards Outer Ring, that's doing the thing. Also, traffic coming off the Thika Superhighway is very busy, and it's coming all the way through towards Muthaiga Square. And also, traffic on Kiambu Road is coming through towards Muthaiga Square as well. Limuru Road coming in all the way from Kitisuru then is very busy as you pass Village Market, then you come past United Nations Avenue and then out towards Muthaiga. That's doing the thing. It's also busy as you come onto Wayaki Way. And where's this? This is Lower Kabete going towards Spring Valley. Bumper to bumper traffic here. And as you cross over James Gishuru, there is traffic then touching on that Red Hill Link Road area. It's going to take you out towards Wayaki Way. Well, not take you out, but you know what I mean. Let's keep an eye on all of this as we get through the morning. Tell us what's going on where you are, just in case you're stuck and we have a good route that you could use, or if you have a good route that nobody's found yet, let us know that as well, and we'll keep things moving as we talk on SpiceFM KE on X hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 9 minutes after 8 o'clock. This is The Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation, and we're looking at a number of things as we get into the week. We're getting into our second conversation for the hour, and we're going to be looking at, a number of issues around security, around peace, around conflict. And joining us in the hot seat this morning is Captain Retired Dr. Simiyu Werunga, who is the CEO of the African Center for Security and Strategic Studies. Captain, good morning.
Morning.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Good to have you here.
First
time,
yes.
Exactly. Sometimes you say he's no stranger, but in this case, for the first time that you're here, but we're looking at some topics that are big ticket items,
yes.
And it's good to have someone of your caliber here to be able to discuss these with us and to look at their import.
Thank you for the compliment.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Usually, I usually would ask you what today's proverb would mean to you, but Dennis is going to share that anyway with us, and we're going to tell you what we think it does, what it means. So you'll tell us where it's from and what it is, Dennis.
Yes, so today's proverb comes from Libya, a country part of the north, majorly the Maghreb region of the continent.
Yes.
And anyone that thinks of Libya, one thing that comes to mind is Muammar Gaddafi and the things that he did for the country.
Yes.
And also the fact that it is an oil-rich nation, and they oil actually that comes from Libya is considered to be one of the cleanest in the world. Yes. And as we talk today, Muammar Gaddafi will be remembered for pushing for the unity of the continent that is Africa, and how he pushed for that. Education, talk about healthcare in Libya during his time was free. The only thing that was expensive was water, because it is predominantly desert, and it costed more to desaline the water from the ocean and whatnot.
But he also created an artificial river.
An artificial river, yes. A good man there. Yeah. And the proverb today is the flute player dies with his finger shaking. The flute player dies with his finger shaking. We've been told that it means he who does the job dies while doing it.
Dies while doing it. If it's something that you've done and you've practiced it all your life, the likelihood of you continuing to do so remains. And I think we have a living example in the hot seat today. Is that, I mean, Captain, you've been in peace and conflict and security issues forever.
Very true.
You know, and you still are.
You normally use the word veteran?
Yes.
Veteran, yes.
Veteran peace and conflict man.
I've been around for long.
You know,
until sometimes we decline some of these invitations because we say,
been there, done that.
If we didn't build people to take over, then we are the problem.
True.
Yeah.
So I mean, here you are, and you still got your finger on the flute. That's for sure. And even retired, we still call you captain.
Yes.
But then even that, now you're dealing with peace and conflict issues around the continent.
Yes.
And that, kind of segues us into our conversation for this morning. That when we look at Kenya and where it's placed regionally, it is strategic, extremely so.
Yeah.
Not just geographically, but then in the minds of many a nation, continentally, and then globally.
Yes.
And that over time there have been specific situations in which Kenya has had to show her colors and has had to preen herself when it then comes to how she will operate within the region and what then she will do externally. Now, diplomacy dictates that how you relate with other nations must be in a manner that is respectful, that sticks to agreements, that holds hard and true to ratification and things like this. There are two items that we're going to discuss this morning when it comes to those relations that Kenya has. Yes. First of all, we're going to start with what is happening externally and where Kenya has a force or a deployment of a couple of hundred police officers, well, actually maybe 600 police officers, now unfortunately -2, who are out keeping the peace. And we would like to get, from a peace and conflict standpoint, your opinion in an overview of what is going on. Why? Because in the last couple of weeks, unfortunately, Kenya has lost 2. One of those gentlemen is yet to be returned home because of whatever reason. But then in terms of progress, is Kenya actually fulfilling its original mandate to send out a 600-strong force to deal with the issues in Haiti?
That's a very
it's a lot.
Question.
It's a lot. It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
But let me attempt. One, I think when Kenya was asked to do this, to undertake this mission, during those days when Kenya was being, I think, pampered to be declared a NATO. What was the name of it?
Non-NATO ally member.
Yes.
There's something there.
Yes,
But
so something came up from the US. They made us look very good. Then they told us, can you try this? And I think our president, and I can say this with a bit of competence, without coming back and discussing with those who could have made him understand the repercussions of what was happening, he agreed while he was in the US that Kenya was going to participate in this thing. And so we couldn't have gone back, Madam, on what he said, yes. Now, is there any reason why we think it was not right for him to do that? No, Kenya has been participating in many missions in the world under the UN umbrella. This one was essentially meant to be a UN mission after some time. So I think the thinking at that time was that as we move in, we are going to be assisted by the American first, then this mission will be handed over to the UN. Unfortunately, up to now, as we speak, it's not been handed over to the UN. So the fundamentals behind it were okay because Kenya has done this for a very long time.
Yes.
Actually, we've sent the military, we've sent the police. So it was not the first time Kenya was sending out police. But the difference is we are sending the police in Haiti to enforce peace. Most of the times we've been sending police out was to maintain peace, keep peace. You know, peace is already there, so you're trying to make it up. So the difference between Haiti and the rest is that we are sending people to Haiti to enforce peace, which is completely different, and the dynamics are different. I think that's where the president should have sat back and listened to people first before he sent our forces to Haiti.
Wirunga, a lot has been said about the mission to Haiti because Kenyans here are asking,
yes,
is that our priority? Because back home, we are still being attacked by the Al-Shabaab. Our streets are not safe. I cannot get the guarantee that I can walk in the streets of Nairobi and get to my home. Why not secure the country first before you go to Haiti? And that question seems no one really bothers to respond to.
Let me attempt to respond. I'll look at it two ways because I basically sort of understand the architecture of our national police. So we have these forces that we call special forces, special operational forces, and we have the beat on the ground, the usual guys in blue. So the usual guys in blue are the ones who are supposed to maintain our peace in our urban areas, in rural areas. But then because of our border problems and Al-Shabaab and peace and security problems, we have several formations, they are called formations, that deal directly with those very special operations. So anybody who has been sent to Haiti did not come from the beat. They picked all of them from the special forces, special operations, border security, counterterrorism. So those are the teams that were sent to Haiti. Number two, Kenya has around 120,000 police officers. We were only sending 1,000 to Haiti. Now, the 1,000 we are sending to Haiti were not the guys you meet in the streets.
No.
Yeah, those are guys who operate very special operations. So my understanding is, I don't think that was a dent to what we needed to do. Because when you look at the UN ratio, Kenya police and the UN standard, we are normally told one policeman to 450. Kenya, I think we were around there, 500 and something. In fact, we have a large police service. The only problem we have, my two friends here, is that our police force is not maximized in what they're supposed to do. So most of the duties they are given to do are not core police duties. So therefore you find the deployment is wrong, attachments to certain places is wrong, and therefore you end up thinking we don't have enough police officers, but the number is massive. 120,000 is a big number. And therefore I don't think sending 1,000 from where I sit could have interfered with any other police servicing in this country. The only problem is we need to ask ourselves, why is it that we have 120,000 police officers and we still have problems in our urban centers? That should be the question we should be asking. But I've attempted to answer. The problem is about deployment. We have so many police officers who are not doing core police functions.
What are they doing?
Many things. Guarding buildings, guarding people, guarding MCAs, guarding all over. You go to an MP, for example, he has not even two. Some of them are guarded even at home. Yeah, so by the time you look at the numbers that are being deployed for non-core police functions, the number is very high. And that's why when I was in the police with the Maraga team, we said one of the things we need to do is to delink the police from non-core police functions. Let them go and do what they are trained to do. The numbers we have, to be very honest, that number is ideal to take care of Kenyan problems. So let's move these people from all those non-core functions, take them back to what they are supposed to do, and then give the NYS or private security some of those functions that the police are given.
Would we see that, because these are linked, whether trying to paint that picture that this is linked, because one of the main questions that came about when the initial announcement about members of the police service, whether it was a special branch of them or not, going to Haiti, was that, is the work that was required here in Kenya actually being done? So the link to that would be, if we actually did see that police were actually carrying out police functions removing them from non-police functions, would we see that the issues that come up where people say, well, we still have crime here, to reduce significantly if we saw people in the police service doing police work?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, 90%. Just remove these fellows from non-core functions, deploy them to policing work. I can assure you, up to 90%.
Okay. So
and that one I speak from some experience because I've worked in this sector for long.
Right.
So I know that if you brought these police officers back to their core functions, we'll not be discussing. Number two, which is very crucial and people never talk about it, is even if we have these numbers and the leadership has a problem, because policing work under leadership, and it's the leaders that deploy them. It is the leaders that expect a result from them. It is the leaders that send them to certain missions. So look at the numbers and look at the leadership. If we had, and I don't want to be seen like I'm going against them, if we had seriously good leadership in the police service, which I think now slowly is coming back. I can see from our CID fellows, this year is doing a very good job when they are given serious work. You can see they are doing very well and doing some work that we didn't expect them to do. The problem is good leadership, remove them from non-core, bring them back to core, and deploy them effectively. The word is effectively. I can assure you we shall deal with a lot of insecurity problems in this country.
And at the same time, then it would be okay to send members, 1,000-strong man, to another country to be able to handle things. In that instance, would it then be okay? Because
okay,
a lot of people have issues with this still.
No, we've done it before. You know, we've sent police officers out to missions.
Yes.
We've done it before.
Sudan is one of them.
We've sent even the East Timor, we've sent to Kosovo, we've sent to anywhere we've had UN missions. The military has always been going with the police. And in good numbers, not small numbers. So this is not the first time. I think the only problem is the context in which they were sent, the time in which they were sent, and the politics around how they were sent.
Right.
That is what has really impacted on people talking about Haiti. But I cannot fault the fact that we send officers to Haiti because we've done it before. It is something that has been done. They've done a very good job. And one of the reasons why you can see the international community asking us to send police officers or the military is because wherever they were, they must have left a very good name. Yeah, for you to be told, can we have your people to assist us?
All right. Dr. Harry, now, here is a subject of the president went to the US and met, and he was given an offer and agrees on that, comes back, the police need to go. But one would assume that these are conversations that should have taken place holistically, involve all the bodies that are involved. Because today, as we speak, the Police Service Commission is an independent body that is supposed to make its own decisions without influence from other quarters. Where one asks the question, by the time the president is agreeing without involving the Police Service Commission, then what is the role of this commission?
I think I started by saying the president should have said, yes, let me go back to my country, have a discussion with my specialists. I think that is where he went wrong. He should have said, in principle, we agree. But let me go back to my country and see what we can do about this. The problem is the president accepted, even the numbers he accepted. So when he comes here, there's no change. People must be told to do what they need to do. That was, I think, the wrong thing he did. So I totally agree with you. He should have come back. You can say in principle, we say that. In principle, I agree. But let me go back to my country and see how we can work out this. Then we shall get back to you. But as a president, in principle, I've agreed. That is what he should have done.
Indeed.
Unfortunately, he accepted when he was there. He accepted the numbers when he was there. So when he comes here, it's about instructions. There's nothing you can change.
Can
the president has already committed the country to doing this to the international world.
Does he have the powers to instruct a commission like the Police Service Commission?
Yes,
even as the president?
In terms of operation, the minister has the powers. That is the law. The minister, through policies and instructions and directives, has the power. And you see, the minister is an executive branch.
Right.
So the president works through the minister to give us. So with those policy issues and directions, the minister will do it.
Yeah.
But now, to go into the details to say, give us this formation, give us now that remains to the IG.
Right.
Yeah.
So even with hardcore operations like military intervention, like what we see happening with a lot of the conflicts in the world, that usually we would imagine that it's not wrapped around by the ribbon of politics, but it is. Whether those are global politics, regional politics, or the national politics. It happens, whether we like it or not. Now, in this case, it was very clear to us what was happening. That for the longest time, the United States was, I don't want to use the word unable, but to an extent was not going to go into Haiti any longer. That is what was grabbing the geopolitical agenda at the time. And that what they essentially said was, I mean, to use colloquialism, tumeshindwa, right? We need someone else who is going to then be able to give their help, because the control of Haiti, rather, peace maintenance in Haiti is an advantage to very many nations in that region. The United States being one of them. They need Haiti to be in a place of peace. Many would say that it was for the continued extraction of certain resources, or many would say that it was just needed for the dominant control that the United States normally enjoys, and that they needed somebody who was going to fulfill the agenda. The political card starts to play there. Now, in that, there was also the time where Kenya, according to what we saw, needed to play buddy-buddy with the United States. So anything that the United States said at the time, Kenya was going to be very willing to go along and say, well, if this is what the United States needs, we are going to give it. We cannot run away from the real politic that was playing out at that time.
Very true.
And that on the altar of that real politic, this 1,000-man strong force then was sacrificed.
Not really sacrificed.
I'm still using it in this political play here. That they were, rather, let me use not sacrifice, they were the currency for which this buddy-buddy relationship between the United States and Kenya needed to happen.
Yes.
Whether the United States saw that is a totally different question, but it looked as though that is what was coming in from the Kenyan side. Now, when it comes to the hardcore military peace and conflict issues, does politics have an everlasting bearing on what would essentially happen when we come back and say Kenya should have come back and had a conversation with its people about whether this was okay? Should that happen?
Yeah, but that must be...
Taking this politics into consideration.
That must be underpinned by very serious issues in our country. I want to repeat it, and like I say, I'm not anybody's keeper. The truth is, there are 7 countries now in Haiti. Kenya is one of the 7, and the 7 of them agreed. And I'll give you who they are. Small countries, but there are 7.
Yes.
So we have Belize, we have Jamaica, we have Guatemala, we have El Salvador, we have Kenya, and which is the other one? Bahamas. Those are 7 countries. As we speak, all of them have deployed their small numbers.
Yes.
Kenya, I think, had the biggest number, 1,000. As we speak, Kenya has not done full to 1,000. I think
still 600.
No, they're beyond 600, but they are not yet 1,000.
1,000, okay.
But the remainder of the 1,000 are already trained and ready to go. So this is what has been happening. So the U.S. has been in Haiti not once. When you look at the history of Haiti, U.S. has been there. At one time, they were there for 20 years.
Yes.
They were chased away. France tried many years to do those funny papa, the baby. They were out. So I think without looking at exactly why the president said yes, because Haiti was not a walk in the park. And our president should have thought twice. Like I said, in principle, we agree. Let's go and see how it can be done. I think he was also looking at it in terms of our economics. You know, when you have this kind of deployment, there's also money coming to the government. It's a lot of money coming to the government. So I think at some point he looked at it in 2 ways. Yes, we shall get some money as a country. Our officers will get some money. And to me, the economics of the deployment played a major role in the president's decision to send our troops there. But I still go back.
It was an economic decision?
I think it was majorly economics driven. what is the country going to benefit from this? And the countries normally benefit. When you look at most of countries that contribute troops to UN missions, they get a lot of money from the UN directly to their coffers and then to the departments of defense.
And I think
the economics of our country at that time played the role in the president accepting quickly to send our troops to Haiti.
And we can't run away from that reality, even as we go to a break. Jamaica, Guatemala, El Salvador, and the Bahamas are also countries who could do well with a bit of a pretty penny coming in from the United States, could they not?
Yes.
And it doesn't, it's clear what could be happening here.
But it's even the issue of money changed. We shall discuss that. The issue of who is contributing, who is paying, has now changed.
Has changed.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a little bit about that when we come back from the break, as well as go into now closer regional peace and conflict issues around the whole Sudan issue. We're going to come back and we'll say, okay, so who's paying? Who's paying for these countries to be in Haiti, and what kind of mark do we see will be left on that when the day is done? So we'll continue with that conversation when we come back from this break. The Captain retired Dr. Simiu Werunga is the CEO of the African Center for Security and Strategic Studies, and we're looking at some of these peace and conflict areas, Haiti being one of them. We'll come back and talk about the money when we come back from this, as well as look into the region. A lot is happening in Sudan. Darfur still a hot spot. We'll find out what's happening there with that at 28 minutes to 9. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
All right, it's sunny at 18 in Nairobi, 18 and sunny into Nakuru with 18 and sunny conditions in Nyeri, 17 and the sun is up in Eldoret, while Mombasa is cloudy at 26 and mostly sunny at 26 in Malindi. It's mostly cloudy at 22 into Kisumu, while in Kakamega it is 21 and sunny. Kampala is sunny at 22, going to highs of 27, while heavy rain still continues in Dar es Salaam, currently at 24. It's 9 degrees and cloudy into Johannesburg, while it is mostly sunny at 29 in Mogadishu and sunny at 18 in Addis Ababa. It's sunny at 27 into Lagos with cloudy conditions at 23 in Kinshasa.
We are Spice FM. Traffic.
All right, still pretty busy into the city this morning. A quick look at what's happening now. It still continues coming in from the Thika Superhighway. Still quite a lot of traffic here this morning as you get over the bump through towards Survey. Now, let's take a look at Uhuru Highway, which is busy. It's coming in all the way from Next Gen and then out towards past the Likoni interchange going towards the Southern Bypass. But then traffic on Mombasa Road is quickly going towards bumper to bumper all the way through towards the city. It's also still busy on Kiambu Road. We're looking at extended traffic now on Wayaki Way as well as Lower Kabete through towards Spring Valley. So right around the city, all that is happening. Langata Road is still pretty busy as well and still piling as you get through towards the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, and all of that is going to join with what's happening on Uhuru Highway. So yes, it is absolutely a very busy morning. Keeping an eye on all of this, and we shall help us out to keep things moving. SpiceFMKE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 26 minutes to 9 o'clock, and Captain Dr. Simiu Werunga is the CEO of the African Center for Security and Strategic Studies. This morning, we're having a conversation around two issues, one where Kenya is involved, and as we were going to the break, we talked about, okay, so money could have dictated why this force went to Haiti or was sent to Haiti, and the 7 countries that have deployed resources to Haiti could have been hinged on a money issue. But you say not the same people who said they were going to pay the money are the ones paying the money. What's going on here?
Because initially, and this is, I think I know about this mission. One, the US was essentially meant to be the one taking care of this, plus Canada. Then I think when the new regime came in, there were issues. But the latest I understand is they've now come up with a trust fund. There's a trust fund that is being, it's already been put up. Money is coming in. I think they've now collected close to $100 million. But that is money meant for the welfare of the police. Then the US has, I think, accepted now to fund 100% the operational capacity of these forces. So money for operations, I think, is still coming from the US.
Yeah.
Money for welfare, allowances, and everything else is coming from about 7 countries so far have contributed their money. And then the UN is also decided to come in. They have done an assessment already, and I think they want to take it to the UN for discussion and see how they can pump in some money. So I think the issue of money is now not a problem.
Okay.
I think it has now been reorganized, and that is where all countries contributing their police officers also benefit from this, because there's money paid to the country and money paid to the officers. So that's how also countries make their money.
I mean, still sticking on the politics just a little bit.
Yes.
We can't run away from the realities that exist in the extractive nature of some of these conflicts.
Yes.
That we know that Haiti is mineral rich, is resource rich, and that the scramble for Haiti has been 30 years, 40 years in the running. That the United States has been there, not particularly because they want to have kumbaya brotherly moments with the Haitians, or that France has been there because they like particularly how Haitians look and how they cook, or that other nations who've been there and have essentially been chased out have been there because of what they seek to get.
Very true.
It would appear as though, and you know, from a strategic and conflict position, that the conflict has been created as a result of those nations who want to come into Haiti and do as they please. And the conflict has arisen because the Haitians have not sat back and allowed that to happen. We see it in the 80s. We saw it in the 70s. We saw it in the 90s. Still in Haiti. True. We're now in the 2000s, and the same thing is still happening. However, these conflicts are now being fought by other individuals at the behest of the same nations who were there in the 70s and 80s. Is there a difference? The only difference for me is that there's somebody else who's doing your bidding, but at the end of the day, the check essentially would come to you. The United States.
And as we talk about that, let's just talk about the minerals. We have gold, we have copper, bauxite, which is used for aluminium. And we know how aluminium is such a big ticket item in the US today, even the tariffs and whatnot. We have silver, marble, limestone, iridium, and other rare earth metals used for making phones and chips. And one would argue that the reason why Kenya has actually even faced a lot of opposition from Haitians themselves is because they look at Kenyans as going there to do the US,
the bidding for the
other.
Is that not the case?
That is the case. Actually, Haitians look at Kenyans as we are like sellouts. Why is it that we are Africans? We are the same. Why are you being used to do what we've stopped them to do? So that is the problem on the ground. And I think for as long as we are there and nobody is talking about anything, we are going to be hated by not really Haitians per se, but especially the gang members. Because the essence of the gang members coming up was to fight the bourgeois. And the bourgeois, most of them were French, Americans, and the West. So at some point, they had made the country so ungovernable that those guys were no longer extracting what they wanted. Then you get an African country here, accepting to come and suppress their own black. So yes, in terms of race, we are hated in Haiti by those gang members because of our color. And like you said, they're asking, how can you be used to come and attempt what we've stopped them to do? Why did you accept to come and suppress them? Because when you come here, we are going to fight. You will kill us. We shall kill some of you. But we are all blacks. So that has been a major issue on the ground. But generally the population, because of the many years of turmoil and conflicts, they will not mind seeing peace. Whatever the circumstances, I think the Haitians at some point, they want to see peace, they want to live happily. And to them, they think this could be another attempt. They are not even now looking at Kenya as blacks. They are looking at it like another attempt to make them have peace in their country. But I totally agree. Most of the Haitians look at Kenyans as sellouts. You are being used for reasons that we know as Haitians to come and do a bidding for those ones we chased from our country. So that, yes, is a very underlying fundamental in their relationship to the Kenyan.
Do you Seven Nation involvement, deployment, as it currently stands, is going to yield the fruit that was sought after in the beginning?
You see, we are told, I've not been there, but we have friends who are working there. The gangs, I think, control about 80% of Haiti. Now, the small places of urban area is what this peace mission, it's not really a peace mission, it's a law enforcement mission is trying to do in Haiti. So it will take a bit of time. It will take a bit of time, really, for this mission to accomplish what they want. So what we are saying is, as a country, we must accept that we are going to have our people there for a very long time for them to achieve. Unless, like we see in many other countries, people make a lot of noise and the countries withdraw their troops or withdraw their police. But yes, I understand. One is about the economics, the minerals that are in. That is the story. That is. But I want to tell you this. We also send there very well-trained police officers. I can talk this with a lot of competence because I've worked with some of them. We have the team that was sent to Haiti was meant to go and fight. It was not to go and walk on the street.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a team that is well-trained. They've been fighting Al-Shabaab all over. And therefore it's a team that is well for the job. The only issue are now those dynamics that we are talking, politics, economies, issues of racial, issues of blacks. But generally our police that was sent there was very effective.
Would the Kenyan officers in Haiti today have received a different welcoming or opposition, if any, if it was a motion that was pushed by, say, Kenya and the African Union itself to go help Haiti get the peace that they need, as opposed to U.S. backing this mission?
You see, let me tell you one thing, and I think this is what people need to know. The Haitian government had not asked for this assistance.
No, they hadn't. Interestingly enough, they were continuing with their business.
Yeah, they were fighting, dying, and moving on. Then Uncle Sam felt that we need to change things for reasons we've just discussed. So if they didn't ask for it, how can we even change their thinking about Kenya? However good we could be in terms of our relations, in terms of our, it's called what, CSR?
Yes.
Community, whatever. So long as we didn't ask the Haitian people for their okay for us to go there, it will also be an issue until at some point where if we are able to buy their hearts and souls, then they can change. But you see, we need to see from where we started.
Yes.
We are brought in by Uncle Sam, who the Haitians themselves don't like. And they know the reason why Uncle Sam and the West are doing this. So I don't think we can change the thinking, but I'm told on the ground, Haitians really feel that this mission could be their
saving grace
to see how they can live in peace. So they're putting this, some of them, majority are putting these things aside and saying, let's see what they can do. And if they succeed, we are happy as Haitians. Yeah.
But perhaps. All right. I mean, it's good to see, and it's one to watch for sure in terms of what's going to happen over the next couple of months. Because, I mean, that law enforcement mission, as it were, is going to be there for the next foreseeable future.
For some time,
Indeed. Let's come back to East Africa, where Sudan has been raging for the last, raging beyond what was the case for the last 1 year now. And we looked at 3 decades of conflict, but then we looked at, after President Bashir, and then moving into what was a transitional government thereafter. And then now we've seen a year of what is easily called one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world at this time. And that we do now have 2 sides. What would be a transitional government versus what many others are calling the rebels in the name of RSF. And that RSF at one point was going to come and call a parallel government in Nairobi. And
I thought they did.
Well, seen to be backed by the president of Kenya. And they actually did with the withdrawal of presence by government. I mean, there was so much in terms of what was happening with that menagerie. We see now that the conflict then has casualties, sadly now, that will be brought to the doorstep of Kenya in the name of a pilot who was killed in one of the warfare attacks in the beginning of this month. An overview of what is happening in Sudan at the moment. Kenya's role previously as a mediator, but then now Kenya seemed to be taking sides in terms of what happens moving forward. Is it a safe position for Kenya to be taking sides in this conflict, if that is beyond perception?
Not at all. Not at all. I think that is one of the serious miscalculations this government did. And it's not one. Look at DRC. We were seen to be taking sides. There's a problem about our Minister of Foreign Affairs that is actually making some of us squirm. Because Kenya for a long time has been an anchor nation. Anchor nation means people will always look at you to see whatever you are doing. And people will always want to see that when Kenya takes this route, the rest of us should see how we can buy with them. Number two, Kenya is the biggest economy in the region. Notwithstanding our bad politics, because we have very bad politics. But Kenya has, we call it an anchor nation. Anchor nation in the sense of, at some point, Jomo Kenyatta was a hub for airways. Kenya had the biggest economy. Kenya had everything. You look at, Kenya was ahead of the rest. Now, you get to a point where Kenya is having problems with Sudan. Kenya is having problems with DRC. Kenya is, I mean, to be very honest, we've lost it. Yeah, as a country. And this is my answer to your question. Kenya has made a serious blunder to get involved in these issues, and it is now determined that Kenya has taken sides.
Dr.
And let me tell you, there's no way of coming out of this. You can say many things, you can flutter around. It's now very clear, Tshisekedi does not want to talk to us.
Yes.
The guy in Sudan does not want to talk to us. And I want you to look at it in this context. UAE is supporting RSF. UAE has a problem with Qatar, with Saudi Arabia, with Turkey in Somalia. Now, you I hope you get my gist.
Yes,
yeah. So it is not a simple thing. It's not a simple thing that we can just say, okay, we back off. It is something we've entered as a country that is going to bite us for a very long time. Because it's not about Kenya and Sudan. It's about Kenya and other countries that have interests in the region. And when you enter into something like this without thinking, I think that was the biggest blunder we made. And at some point I was telling people we need to have a discussion. I'm happy you've asked me this question. Kenya's role in the two conflicts has had a very serious negative impact on our country. And I don't think we are going to recover soon, because now nobody can look at Kenya as a honest mediator. Nobody will listen to us. There's no way you can say you want to send our troops for peacekeeping, for example, in Sudan or in DRC. They are there because of East African Community, UN. But Kenya, we've lost it. On this one, two of this, we've lost it. And I think that is why we normally say, when you want to have a country that has a stable foreign policy, you also need to have very seasoned diplomats running our ministries, because they understand international politics. They understand the dynamics of international politics. They understand the region. Right now, Kenya has been an anchor for a long time. Now we see Ethiopia, even with its problems, is taking over. Uganda with some army, they think they're the biggest army in the region. They want to flex. They're now in South Sudan. They're assisting. You see, we are losing it slowly as a country. And for those of us who travel around the region, we feel so sad, because this is about what politicians are doing to our country.
And Simi, one would look at whatever is happening and ask where our head is at, because we have a conflict in Sudan. We have a government, you'd say, an interim government that is there.
Yeah.
And Kenya opens its doors to an opponent to come and declare a parallel government in Nairobi. I mean, anyone who has their head right would think these will dent the image of the country. But then again, even while at it, you see, this is something that is tied with the highest office in the land.
That's why I'm using that Kenya has messed it up. I mean, who represents...
Is there ever coming back from it?
How?
What will it take for us to cleanse ourselves and be looked and retain...
Apology.
An apology to
An
who?
apology.
Sudan.
Okay.
Apology to Tshisekedi. And most countries, by the way, they do that quietly. So that's called backhand diplomacy. You just make yourself available, go and talk to these people, and then you make sure RSF never appears in Nairobi again. You cannot allow an alliance in Eastern DRC forming itself in Nairobi. This is an alliance that is fighting Tshisekedi. Surely, what kind of diplomacy is that? So we shall never recover. And I think, as Kenyans, we need to be honest to ourselves. The hatred we are creating around the region, by virtue of how our foreign policy is being used, it is making Kenya lose its stand very badly.
Do we have the right people in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
That's
and
why
what should the president do to just sort that out?
Give seasoned diplomats. We have. Kenya has very seasoned diplomats who are not running the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Who are not running the Ministry. If you needed a loaded statement on a Monday morning, I think there it is. So
that's where the problem is.
Right.
Yes.
So if we look at the role that Kenya has played in mediation around the region in the last 20 or so years. I mean, one notable figure is Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, who's played roles in South Sudan, in Somalia. When we look at folks like Bethuel Kiplagat, who also played, we look at General Sumbewe, who also played these roles of mediation. What should a mediation agenda look like, as opposed to what we've seen here? Because we often say, well, they did the wrong thing, they should not have invited. Tshisekedi is annoyed. And then we also look at, presidents in Sudan. And what should a mediation process look like? Should it not mirror what we saw headed by these gentlemen that I've mentioned in those years? Take on that kind of persona?
I'll ask you if you remember this conflict in South Sudan, the ongoing one. You remember we sent Raila there?
Yes.
What happened?
Well,
sent back home.
This came off of.
And then Museveni moved there. Sent his special troops. They assisted this man. So between Museveni and Kenya, and why are we losing that position? Because people have lost faith in what we do. We have stopped being taken to be honest arbiters to any problems taking place in this region. And nobody is going to take this country seriously until we reimagine how we want to deal with the world. We shall never be taken serious again. This is the best example. You send somebody to Salva Kiir, who has about 5 houses in Nairobi. So Nairobi is his home.
Yes.
But they still refuse to listen to our Raila. Museveni goes there, they sit down, he sends his troops to assist the fellow to fight. That should tell you something. At some point, wherever Kenya used to go, the rest of the countries will never move in. And we know it because we've been around, like you said, we've been around for long. When Kenya took a stand, the rest will want to see how it is going. These days, nobody wants to listen to us. Nobody cares what we say. And that is the problem we have. Our foreign policy is in shambles.
Because even
our projection of power and interest is in shambles. Our interest in the region, nobody wants to hear what we are talking about. And as a country, I don't know how we can move around. If you claim you're the biggest economy, okay, our military people don't know it, but I'm sure right now it's a big military. But how do you sit back as the best in the region and nobody does not listen to you? So it might not change in our generation, but hopefully things will change. You see, it took Kenya many years to be what it is.
Yes.
So it will take us some time to reverse what we've just done, to be honest. Unless we fill that Minister of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora with the seasoned diplomats and give them a mission to reclaim Kenya's place. That one they can attempt. But as we are now,
there's a gentleman called Henry Kissinger. He wrote a book and talks about the recrafting of foreign policy.
Yes.
And it's possible for nations to actually come back from where they may have made diplomatic faux pas and then come and recraft a policy, but it goes along the lines of what you've talked about now, that you must have seasoned individuals who will then be able to start from the place of, coming back from fractured relationships and then be able to set them back on the path.
Very true.
But they're not going to be able to stand up and do them for themselves. Werunga cannot stand up today and say, well, how about I take a trip to Sudan and then start speaking on whose behalf?
No.
So it must be something that comes from within the structure of government, and that there must be somebody who comes out and says, well, this is what we must do and this is how we must go about it. How should that play out? I mean, it's very clear. But if you look around the region where Kenya has played big brother mediator for the last 30 years in different places, DR Congo, Rwanda even, Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia, that it is still recognized to an extent.
Yes.
But that the fractured relationship is also clearly evident. What would be the first steps towards this? I mean, we talk about what's happening, and then even beyond that, because now Haiti, clearly, we've mucked up there as well.
Yes.
How do you then now start to say we're going to start to put those
like I
pieces
said,
back together?
we need a rethinking. That one can only be done when you, as a ministry, take 2 steps back, sit down, look at what is not working as a country. And these many countries, like you say, do that. Sit back, assess what they've done, understand what the problem is, and then, like you said, recraft our policy. How do we want to go back to where we were? What are the steps we need to do? And how long should it take for us to do this? Kenya, they've just come up with a new foreign policy. I was seeing a copy somewhere. But even when you look at that document, and I'm not saying those who did it are fools, all of them are people who've gone to school. But you see, there's a reason why always something called peer review. You know, peer review is not because you don't know what you're doing. You know what you're doing, but give it to people who are like you to tell you that this one, there's something wrong, this one, you did it right. So I think, Madam, what I can tell you is Kenya will have to sit back, look at what they've done wrong, create a system of how to relook at it, ask people to sit down, discuss, talk, come up with a paper, whether it is a green or white paper. That paper should be discussed thoroughly with the people who understand international relations, and then tell the government, this is how we need to move forward.
I hear you say that Kenya needs to come up with a clearly defined foreign policy for us to reclaim our position.
They already have one, but you see, it's already muddy with this one. And you see, it was just passed the other, and I'm not even sure whether it is already passed or not. But they were working on a policy. But we've already muddied the water. So if I were the PS, for example, I would say, bring that document. Let's relook at it. Let's bring in other people. Before we launch this document, we must recreate our foreign policy. How do we do it? Bring people who have some experience, bring people who have been in the field, bring people who have worked in this foreign relations for a long time. And then they will tell you, Bana PS or Bana Minister, this is how we need to do it. This is what America did. This is what France did. You know, because you quote countries that have been successful. And then you tell them, if we do this way, then slowly we shall reclaim our position. I'm not sure whether they are willing to do that. That's my problem.
Indeed. And it's important for us to have these conversations because it's good for people to be in the know. It's good for us to keep these discourse front and center because we don't just operate in an island, especially with the way global politics happens on a regular basis. So we're glad that you were able to join us this morning to have an eye on Haiti and also with what is happening around the country and in this region specifically. So thank you for being here with us this morning. Really appreciate that. Captain Simiu Werunga has been our guest this hour. Asante Sana.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Asante. I can leave. this way.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. PLP Martha Karua has said Deputy President Kithure Kindiki is in office illegitimately. She was speaking when she appeared on the ongoing Situation Room show here on SpiceFM. Karua cited last Friday's Court of Appeal ruling that directed Chief Justice Martha Koome to empanel a fresh bench to hear the cases challenging former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa's impeachment. She applauded the court's ruling that the bench constituted by Koome's deputy, Philomena Mwilu, last October failed to meet the constitutional threshold.
What that means, therefore, is that that bench was not properly empowered, and therefore the orders that emanated from it need to be reversed. It means when the next bench is formed, they may arrive at a decision different from that. And even if they were to validate the actions done, it means in the interim, Kindiki becomes illegitimate. He's an illegitimate DP, okay? Because those are the orders that paved way to the swearing before the case could be determined.
Karua went on to say that Gachagua is the legitimate deputy president.
Remember, the case has not yet been determined. So it means the substantive DP in office is none other than the second deputy president of the Republic, Rigathi Gachagua. He is impeached because up to there, the decision has to come and be reversed by the court. But it means it is not time to appoint any other person
in the interim.
So we are in that limbo, and Kindiki knows it as a lawyer. He is illegitimate. That decision illegitimized him.
This even comes as questions continue to emerge over whether Kindiki is lawfully in office, with Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka asking him to resign. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has said he's partly to blame for the challenges that Kenyans are facing under the current regime. Speaking in a media interview, Gachagua regretted supporting President William Ruto, accusing him of governing on the basis of lies and falsehoods.
Na ndio mimi baada ya kukaa na yeye mwaka moja nilianza kuona huyu jamaa alikuwa ni muongo. Ilikuwa kazi yake ni kudanganya Wakenya. Na mimi ndio nikaanza kumuondokea polepole na kumwambia hii maneno haiwezekani, hii haiwezekani, hii haiwezekani. Kwa hivyo mimi nakubaliana na wewe kama iko mtu ako na makosa Kenya, kwa ile shida tuko nayo Kenya, kwa ile shimo tuko katika kama taifa, kwa ile matatizo ambayo Wakenya wanapitia, mtu ya kwanza kabisa kulaumiwa ni Rigathi Gachagua, kwa sababu mimi nilichangia kiasi kikubwa sana kutafutia huyu rais kura na kushawishi watu ya nyumbani waungee mkono.
Gachagua went on to say that he was impeached because he criticized President Ruto's handling of cases of abductions and enforced disappearances reported across the country in the wake of the Gen Z-led anti-finance bill protest last June.
Mimi nilikosana na president kwa sababu ya mambo ya mauaji. Mimi ni Mkristo na mimi pia ni mzazi. Mimi niko na vijana wawili. Kama ingekuwa ni hiyo vijana wangu ningesikia namna gani? Mtoto wa Attorney General alikuweko Justin Muturi alitekwa nyara na watu ya National Intelligence Service. Na ndiye Attorney General wa Kenya. Kwa hivyo mtu asiseme mimi ati Rigathi Gachagua ninaongea kwa sababu niko nje. Mimi niliongea nikiwa ndani.
A suspect believed to be the gunman behind the fatal shooting of Kasipul MP Ong'ondowere is expected to be arraigned at the JKIA court. Isaac Kuria alias Kush was arrested yesterday in Esebania near the Kenya-Tanzania border. Detectives said Kuria, whom they've linked to criminal networks operating within Nairobi, was planning to flee the country. According to the detectives, Kuria had travelled to the CBD on the day of the murder, where he trailed Were's movements before shooting him. Were was shot 4 times on the 30th of April near the city mortuary roundabout on Ngong Road here in Nairobi while seated in his car. Kuria's arrest brings the total number of suspects in police custody to 11. The Taliban government in Afghanistan has banned chess until further notice due to fears the game is a source of gambling. Officials said the game has been prohibited indefinitely until its compatibility with Islamic law can be determined. Chess is the latest sport to be restricted by the Taliban. Women are essentially barred from participating in sport at all. Since seizing power in August 2021, the Taliban has steadily imposed laws and regulations that reflect its austere vision of Islamic law. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Traffic.
All right, a quick look at what's happening on the streets of traffic this morning. A few minutes after 8 o'clock, rather 9 o'clock, and traffic still pretty busy. It has come quite something off the jump off the Thika Superhighway, and that has been doing the rounds. There's also traffic coming off Langata Road going towards Uhuru Highway. Very, very busy as well as you get towards the Haile Selassie Junction. And Kangunda Road has been busy, but it's doing better now. And then over the drift from the Eastern Bypass through towards North Airport Road is still a little bit busy, but taking it all in stride, as it were. As you come off from Gong Road, there is some traffic before you cross over Langata Road, so that is still doing the thing, and also a little bit of traffic then as you approach the Junction Mall. So all of this we're watching as we're coming out of traffic hour. Let's talk and keep things moving all the same. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Into the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this Monday, the 12th of May. And we continue. Dennis with you here. Live streams are still up on Facebook, on YouTube, and on X, and our audience on KTN. Always good to have you here this morning as we continue with a number of things. There is an international day, and there is often one that we can commemorate. And we're commemorating today the International Day of Nurses. And the question that we're asking today, is there much to smile about? Joining us in the room this morning is the Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Nurses, and that is Seth Panyako. Seth, good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
It's like we say happy birthday, but in this case we say happy International Nurses Day.
Nurses Day, yes.
Yeah. So
Nurses Week.
Nurses. Oh, it's a week.
A week. Yes.
All right, we give ourselves a week. Why not?
All right.
And of course, we're going to localize this conversation. We'll look at it broadly around what happens and some of the interventions that are being sought after for nurses, and then we'll come back and look at what's happening, on a local front. But before we do that, Dennis will tell you what country we are in this week. Of course, you know that you're going to have to interpret the proverb for us. Then he'll tell you what the proverb is, and then we would like to hear your interpretation.
All right.
All right.
So today we are in the Islamic Maghreb region of the continent. That is the northern part of the continent. And the country we are in today is Libya. Now, Libya is bordering countries like Egypt, Sudan, Chad, Niger, Algeria, Tunisia, and the Mediterranean Sea. It is a country with a population of around 7 million people, and gained its independence from Italy between 1911 to 1943, gained independence in 1951. Muammar Gaddafi ruled the country from 1969 to 2011, but we know what he did for that country. A lot to be said, but he was kicked out of that power during the uprising in the country. Today's proverb: the flute player dies with his finger shaking. The flute player dies with his finger shaking. What do you make of that?
That's a tricky one. Well, I think it means that if you are a good player, you when you die, you'll die when people still think about you. Mm-hmm. People still know you. We have, when you, for example, you're a leader and you leave the leadership sphere, you go in the village, everybody forgets about you very fast. But if you have done very good things during your leadership, the legacy remains like Gaddafi. Gaddafi died and he did so many good things for the Libyans. And when those white people thought that an African should not be able to do that, the continent of Africa, they schemed to have him removed and ultimately killed like an animal. So when now today, wherever he is, if he's able to hear, he's very happy because Africans are saying they lost a statesman and a true African. So his fingers are still shaking wherever he is.
There you go. Still shaking. Okay. I think great interpretation, and we can still look at some of these issues even till now. That you also remember the flute player even after they've gone, like we've given examples of today.
Correct. We still remember Maradona. We still remember Pele. We still remember very, very many people. We, even in boxing, still remember Kina Muhammad Ali. We still remember Kipchoge Keino. Yeah.
We remember the greats, that's for sure. And they went with their fingers still shaking.
Correct.
That's true. International Nurses Day 2025. For many people who did not know that there was International Nurses Day, and that even as we look into that, I think some of the questions is that, as we do, why is it necessary for us to have a day when it's set aside just for, remembering this work from your point of view? Seth?
It's very important because this is something that did not begin today. It began long time ago before nursing became conventional or what it is today. In the years when we didn't have proper organized nursing and a proper organized healthcare system, and nurses were celebrating each and every passing day. And the reason for celebration today is for us to recognize and appreciate those who paved way for the current nursing, and also to appreciate and recognize the incredible job that is being done by the current nurses. And we also recognize and prepare the future of the nursing, those who are coming to play nursing, where when we are out of this scene, those are the students. And that's why 8th of every May is dedicated to recognize the nursing students. Yes.
Okay.
So that's why it's a week. It has various events. And between 6th and 12th, on 8th is dedicated to the nursing students.
The nursing students.
Yes.
So nursing is such a great career, noble career, one would say, due to the services it gives to the population across the world population. But let's talk about the nursing career in our country as we speak. As we celebrate or observe the Nurses Week, is there anything to celebrate back in Kenya?
There are very many strides that have been made so far in the nursing profession. To say that we have not achieved anything will be a defeatist statement, and that will not be accurate. For example, nursing has continued to evolve over years. I told you before the Crimean War, that was around 1853 to around 1856 when we had that war, and there was a nurse called Florence Nightingale that left America to Britain to go and take care of the soldiers. And when he reached there, he found the soldiers were living in very pathetic conditions. Sanitation was very bad, and the death was part of the disease. It means that those who were dying were almost equal to those who were sick. So when she went there, the first thing she did was to institute sanitation system to ensure that the soldiers are kept in good place. So sanitation hospitals began at that time. He put up the system. There was not enough medication. He started taking statistics and doing all those kind of things. So he brought up, he started what we call now the current modern nursing, started doing the Crimean War. And this was the work of Florence Nightingale. And she brought up the issue of good hygiene, care, and she was the first woman to establish a school of nursing in 1860. And she was the first manager of any hospital in the world. So when I see other people saying they are managers and nurses cannot be manager, I wonder whether they know who founded the hospital management system. That was the work of the Florence Nightingale, and she was the first manager of any known hospital in the world. Even when you look at the Red Cross, it was founded by the American nurses, Clara and the father and the sister and the other gentleman. But those things today are being managed by others. So from that time, nursing has continued to grow up to today. We have, for example, when we came as a union, we may say that nursing had very many challenges. One of the challenges was acute staff shortage. And during that time, we had about 8,700 nurses in the public sector. And when we came as a union, we started agitating for safe nursing staffing levels, because if you don't have safe nursing staffing levels, you are going to have both the problem with the patient and the patient service delivery to the patient, and also the burnout for the nurses themselves. So we have fought, and up to now, as I speak today, we have over 32,000 nurses in the public sector. So for a period of 10 years, we, as a union, we have managed to have that improve. When you look at the issue of the nursing union itself is a call for celebration. In the past, nurses did not have a platform through which they could air the issues in terms of employment, the grievances, and a legally identified, recognized instrument, that platform that they could air their views in employment, welfare, and they could have the privilege to negotiate with the government. And now when this union came in, it has given a voice to the nurses, and that is why the welfare of the nurses continues to improve day in, day out. But we have so many challenges that are yet to be addressed. But we are not saying that we have not moved from somewhere to somewhere.
Okay, so has the welfare of nurses improved? Do a comparison for us from before nurses were unionized in Kenya until this point, whereby you say the situations have improved. What are things that have improved over time?
Quite a number of things, and very many which are very good. I've told you, first of all, in terms of the staffing levels, we have almost tripled, more than 3 times what we had in 2013. From 2013 up to now, about 10 years, and we have the number of nurses moved into public sector alone, moved from about 8,700 to more than 32,000. That's an achievement. Number 2 is that the general overall pay for the nurses during that time was around 27,000 gross. And the pay for the nurses has slightly improved to reasonable levels that make nurses live a better life, though they are not yet living a decent life. But we're getting there. We are not far away from where we were. I can say also that we have tripled the pay for the nurses for the last 10 years. You remember, from 27,000 to, I don't want to go into the figures. Some people start talking about those figures. But we're saying generally the pay for the nurses has improved. The nursing education has also improved, though that may be attributed to a collective responsibilities of both the trade unions, professional association, the regulator, and the Minister of Health. We now have nurses who are professors. We've had one of the most successful CEO in Kenya, at Kenyatta University Teaching and Research Hospital, has been a nurse, Dr. Dagani. And these are kind of achievement that we've made as a profession. And the Nursing Council has also continued to grow from the Nursing Council of Kenya to the Nursing Council of Kenya Midwives. So from where I sit, even when you go to hospitals, maybe both of you are young people, but if you talk to older people who gave birth to maybe young people like us, me I'm a very old age, our parents might not be there. Most of them have started going away. But if you spoke to someone you can call as a grandmother, if she's still alive, you ask her, when you are giving birth to my dad, how was the situation at the hospital? She'll tell you that when you go to hospital during those days, a nurse will do a sweater, and when you are giving birth, she will give you that sweater you put to a child. You think it's a gift. When you want to leave, nurse will tell you, I'm not paid for my sweater, because nurses' income was so minimal that it will not be able to sustain the nurses at that time. But through our activities as a trade union, we have improved. You don't see that kind of things in hospitals. Nurses could even do hawking in hospitals during those years. Today we live a life, I can say, next to dignified life. We are living a dignified life. We may not be living very, very, in terms of the income compared to others, but we are living a dignified life, because those are signs of a life that's not dignified. But with the current taxation, it has tried to pull nurses back to where they were. When you look at the taxation in terms of the housing levy, where we are supposed to give money to these fellows in government to build houses, sell and steal that money, and then NHIF, NSSF is okay, because that's their money, they will get it at the end of the day. We may not complain much about it. But when you look at NHIF, which has been dismantled, and they have brought this sha and shisha, you are paying now 2.7% of your gross salary. Even your house allowance, which is meant for you to go and live in a decent house, is being taxed to go to health. Then why should you have a housing allowance when you are being taxed the housing allowance to provide you health? So some of these things don't make logic. All taxation and levies, apart from the tax, all levies should go to the basic salary. So when you look at the amount we were paying during that time in NHIF, was quite low, but the services were superior to what is being offered today. So you can see that those kind of taxes and levies have pushed nurses back, is pushing nurses back to very hard times.
And we talk about the taxes that have been levied as we speak right now. Yet again, we also know the fact that the nurses through your union have been having discussions with government through CBAs and agreements that ought to be implemented. And there has been an issue with the implementation of the same. Would you admit or disabuse that the nurses are listened to as a profession that is very critical for this country?
The question you asked was, is there something to celebrate? Maybe I was waiting for the next one. Are there things to...
It was coming. It was coming.
Probably that's what you're asking in a different way. I have to say that nurses have very critical issues that have not been addressed. One of the current critical issues is the issue of the universal health coverage staff. You cannot talk about universal health coverage staff when the people who are supposed to be offering those services are being frustrated.
True.
And when you look at, for example, in health sector, we have about 18 cutters. And out of the 18 cutters, different level of staff, like the physio, the nurses, the lab people, doctors, we all have different 18. sorry for that. 18 different cutters. Now, or different professions. In this health sector is only one profession that is benefiting. The benefit of the in the health sector, all the privileges are going to only doctors. Because even you look at the UHC staff, you've not had any doctor complaining. Why? Because they are paid salary according to the SRC approved and what is contained in the CBA for the doctors. But the nurses and other healthcare staff are paid 40,000 and 50,000 without even that salary was not set by SRC. Because salary is supposed to be, for the public servant, supposed to be advised by the SRC to come up with the salary. But for the state officer, it's supposed to be set by SRC. This salary that was set by something else, but which is not, we don't know who said that salary. And we have had about 5 years of this staff working under these conditions. So we have continued to fight over this issue for them to be absorbed. The first 3 years contract lapsed. They were added another 1 year, they lapsed. And they said they were to be absorbed after the lapse of that 1 year. You remember I was here one day and I said I'm confident that they are going to be absorbed. And when I was in studio, I received a letter of commitment from the Minister of Health that these nurses were going to be absorbed last year in June, which never happened. And these are the kind of disappointment that we have when government make commitments to citizens and refuses to fulfill. The question will be, why has money been provided to absorb doctors on UHC?
Right.
Why has money been provided to pay doctors according to approved salaries and not other health workers? And this thing continues to boil up to the extent that now nurses are asking me it's time for us now to go on strike and fight for our rights, because from the time this government came in place, nurses have never been on nationwide strike, and we are about to do that. That's an area that is very painful to us. Another area is the return to work formula of 2017. You talked about agreement with the government. And again, that agreement has never been fulfilled. The government has made a promise now from 2017 up to now. We are talking of almost 5 years plus. The government has not been able to fulfill. The only hospital that has employment agent within government that has fully implemented that return to work formula is Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital.
Right.
The rest have not. County governments tried to start implementing, and SRC came in and interfered.
Is that the reason? I'm sorry, I have to interject at that point, because we say that have not been able to implement Moi Teaching and Referral in the nation are those who've been able to implement the CBA.
Correct.
When you enter into a CBA with a group of with a group of people, is that what you're saying is that over time, based on your demands and what we're able to do, we will meet you here. We will do 1, 2, 3.
Correct.
That by the time this period has come to an end, we will have ensured that we have done this.
Correct.
And you're given 5 years. CBA more or less is 4 or 5 years, isn't it?
It's 4 years.
It's 4 years. Okay. Yeah. So it's 4 years. And that one would also assume that the elements of a CBA are met because they're well within the reach of the one who is offering, to the acceptance of those who are demanding, right?
Yes.
So why would you not then be able to fulfill the tenets of a CBA?
From where I sit, I think SRC has been trying to survive over years. And they have been survived on the background of them frustrating public servants who have no political power to interfere with them. Because when you look at Parliament, whenever they touched Parliament, and Parliament will threaten them, they will come round and approve the same things they had denied Parliament. But for the health workers, what has been discussed even with government, and government has said we are able to pay. SRC comes and say do not pay. We are looking at the wage bill. But when they look at the wage bill of members of Parliament and state officers, when you look at what they pay, what they earn, I kept asking myself if a state officer is earning about $1 million plus those other money they are getting, is there a petrol station for a state officer? And a petrol station different for public servants, so that when you go to fuel your small car, you'll be told, oh, you are a public servant, petrol will go for 50 shillings per litre. Is there a supermarket for state officers and a supermarket for public servants? So this thing raises a question of decent work, decent payment for work. We have been living on minimum wage. The issue of minimum wage should now be removed. We should be talking about decent pay. So there is a big gap between the differential wage between those who are earning high and those who are earning low is so wide that you may not be able to compare. The people they call support staff here in Nairobi, if you find somebody is earning 18,000 gross salary and they call you a support staff, even if you have not gone to school, you are a father. Exactly. You are a mother.
Yeah.
The ideal of taking care of your family is not different from the ideal of a state officer taking care of and a state officer, I mean the cabinet secretary, the principal secretary, those directors, those big people in offices. It's not different from a cleaner who has a wife who has children, or a cleaner who has a husband who has children who depend on them. We are all parents.
It's true. And I think, some things that we overlook sometimes, Seth, is that we assume that we know what everybody that we sometimes clamor and make noise about actually does, right?
Correct.
We say clinical officers, we say doctors, we say nurses. I want you to walk us through essentially what a nurse does. We can assume that you go to hospital, we see a nurse, and you just think, well, he or she is over there doing what nurses are supposed to do. So when they come and they're making noise, we say, okay, why are you making noise? Really, what do you do? Which can be insensitive to a certain extent and by nature.
We always.
We always.
Continue. Finish first.
So my question is, what does a nurse do? And before we used to think that number one, nurses are only women. Until enlightenment beat a lot of people in the head. And so what are the roles? And we say a nurse is not yet a doctor wanting to be a doctor, but in many cases that's not true. There are some people who went to school to be nurses and want to continue in their career as nurses. You don't aspire to be a doctor. Anyway, I may be answering for you, but what does a nurse actually do? And let's look at it in the Kenyan context.
Yeah, we always say in Kenya that nurses, we are the hospitals. Without nurses, there can be no hospital. There can be no healthcare system in the world. If nurses go on strike today, we close hospital literally, put padlocks and go home. Any other person who goes on strike, we don't close hospitals. We have several county governments where doctors are on strike. Hospitals are open. Operating. They have not closed. No, they may not be operating actually, because you can't operate fully without doctors. These people play different roles that are key in hospitals. To try to say that you can operate without doctors, that will not be correct. We have certain services that are offered purely by nurses alone. But let me go to the generality of the roles of the nurses. Nurses in hospitals are charged with the responsibility of receiving patients, making the nursing diagnosis, and drawing a plan on how to attend to this patient and implementing that plan. For example, when you come to the hospital as a nurse, I will first take your vital signs to a general examination. I'll be the nurse who will determine who is coming to see you. If you are very much injured, I will have to take you to critical area where I will not wait for the doctor to come there. I'll push you to a critical room and I'll say this one is very critically ill, and I'll call the doctor to see you when I'm already attending to you. So we assess the patients, we make nursing diagnosis, we plan how to implement those nursing diagnoses, and we implement and we evaluate. That's what we call the nursing process. It defines what nurses do in hospital theoretically. Theoretically, we assess, we diagnose, we plan, we implement, and we evaluate. And through this process, we are interdependently working with other departments. So once you have taken your vital signs, you have decided the patient is going to critical area, or this is a patient, you will wait for the routine doctor to see, or clinician to see who's there. Then the patient is seen. You escort the patient to where it's supposed to go. If the patient is supposed to be given medication, for example, that casualty area or outpatient department, when the doctor has seen that patient, has made prescription, you come and interpret that prescription. What's supposed to be done? What are the procedures that are supposed to be done? The doctor will just say theater, will say patient supposed to go to theater. You prepare for that theater. You know what you're supposed to do. You fix the lines, you prepare, you shave the patient, you do pre-medication that has been ordered, this one you are going to administer. And in some cases, a nurse may not administer those medications because the doctor may prescribe by mistake. It is the responsibility of the nurse to ensure that the medication you are giving is the correct dosages, the right patient for the right condition.
So there's responsibility that's on your shoulders.
There is nothing like saying I administer some medication because the doctor had prescribed. That's why we go to school. In other countries like America, nurse consultant, we call them nurse practitioners, they do prescribe. Even here in Kenya, we prescribe. Like when you go to a dispensary, literally in a dispensary, the nurse is the doctor, he's the clinician, he's the lab person, he's the pharmacist, he's everything. He decides even when to refer patients and not to refer. So at a dispensary level, the nurse is an intensivist. He does everything. He or she does everything at a dispensary level. But when you go to now from level 3, where you get clinical officers, and level 4, you get doctors and above, now roles start to change. So from there, you have finished outpatient department, you've taken, if they is supposed to go to X-ray, you have extorted that patient to X-ray, it has been done, come back, the doctor will review again the result of the X-ray or whatever lab, whatever it is, then we'll say, now this one's going to the ward. Your work as a nurse again is to ensure that the pre-medication or services to be offered to this patient prior to taking this patient to the ward are done. Records are properly there. The records will be brought by the record person, but you must make sure you have filled all those records. You are documenting. Of course, documenting is one of the key responsibility. When you go to court and you have not documented, you will lose, because if it is not documented, it is not done. That's what it is. So from there, you will plan. If the patient is going to the ward, you must call the ward. Say, we have an admission. The patient, on phone, you will explain to the person in the ward the condition of the patient, the type of the medication is getting. So by the time you go to the ward with this patient, the nurse in the ward will have prepared to receive you and made the correct bed. Where you are going to be placed. Because some patients require different types of beds because of the condition they have. If you have a cardiac issue, you'll need to be in a bed that's a cardiac bed. You can't be having a cardiac problem na unapelekwa kitanda orthopedic.
Indeed.
Those kind of things.
These are the things that we talk about.
Correct.
And it's vital that we do that. We do that.
Very important.
So that we can understand. So that when these conversations are front and center in discourse, when we're talking about International, Nurses Day today, and we're looking at some of the things that have been bedeviled nurses in the country, then we have an understanding of what exactly happens 24 hours round the clock. The Secretary General of the Nurses Union is here with us this morning, Seth Panyako. We're having a conversation around International Nurses Day 2025. It continues after this.
Hey. The weather with Spice FM.
All right, now looking at 19 degrees and sunny conditions in Nairobi. It is sunny at 19 in Nakuru with 20 and sunny in Nyeri. Out into Eldoret at 19, mostly sunny conditions, while Mombasa is now raining heavily at 26 with sunny conditions at 28 in Malindi. Light rain showers now in Kisumu at 23 and partly sunny at 23 in Kakamega. It's partly sunny in Kampala at 24, while at 25 it's raining heavily still in Dar es Salaam. Johannesburg is cloudy at 12 with Mogadishu sunny at 30. It's 20 and sunny in Addis Ababa, with Lagos sunny at 28 and Kinshasa cloudy at 23. Beijing going into Monday afternoon is sunny at 27 with 14 and light rain showers in Paris this morning. We'll take a quick skip to Mogadishu, where it's sunny at 30 and sunny at 20 in Addis Ababa. Light rain showers in Paris and partly sunny conditions at 16 in London, and New York is clear at 16.
Online, mobile, and on radio. Instagram at SpiceFMKE. Traffic.
All right, taking a look at traffic. We're coming out of traffic hour according to the tick-tock of the clock, and let's see that Uhuru Highway still going to be pretty busy for a while as you approach the city. Some traffic still getting into the city, coming off of the Thika Superhighway right around Pangani at the underpass, but it's not going to be crazier. From now, we're probably going to see a lull as we get through it. Through the morning, talk to us, SpiceFM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
25 minutes left in this conversation on International Nurses Day 2025. Seth Panyako is the Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Nurses. And as we went to the break, Seth, just talking about some of these things, the responsibility that lies heavy on the shoulders of nurses at whatever level. We say, okay, well, we only see that responsibility if you're talking about, a level 6 hospital or, a major hospital in the region. But it doesn't matter whether you're at a dispensary or you're a clinic, at whatever level that you are. The responsibility is pretty heavy when it comes to the work that nurses do. So, if CBAs have been agreed upon and things have been reached, can we rely on the old age reasoning that we've been given as to why, CBAs cannot be met? In some cases, CBAs are not just for monetary compensation. There are other things that come into play in CBAs. But usually the money takes the center stage. And oftentimes what you're told is that there's just not enough to go round. What should a nurse earn in Kenya today? What should a nurse earn for the work that they do? And I'm not even talking about being frivolous here. I'm just saying for the work that they do, because what's the shift of I'm asking so many questions at the same time, I'm sorry, but let me start from here. What's the basic shift of a nurse that they would work in terms of hours?
Ideally, nurses are supposed to work between that 6.5 hours to a maximum of 40 hours in a week, depending on your place and depending on the nature of your work.
Okay.
If you are in a very intensive area, you need to work that 6.5 hours. Like a place like ICU, it's very intensive.
Yes.
A place like labor ward, it's very intensive. So if you put nurses on high, very many working hours, you end up with backache problems, and you'll end up prolapse of the discs and what have you, and you'll have back problems, and you'll become a person living with disability.
True.
And we have quite many nurses who have been put in the category of people living with disabilities, and they have certificates, and they're now being exempt from taxes and some other things just because of the nature of the work that they do. In terms of what a nurse is supposed to earn,
sorry, just this 36 to 40 hours. So you said, and this is Sunday to Sunday?
That's 6.5. No. The kind of shift that we do, how we work, you can't say from Monday to Friday or where to where. It's
in a week.
In a week, because we work 24 hours. We take care of a patient 24 hours, 7 days a week. So if you're, for example, on night shift, there are a number of days you're supposed to work at night, and the number of days you're supposed to be on off. But generally, that should translate to that 6.5 hours to 40 hours per week. Yeah.
Okay. So then now, based on that, how much should a nurse earn comfortably?
Yeah, earning is a very relative thing, because when you're negotiating salary, there are various factors that we use. And those factors that we use determine, because when you are looking at your salary also, you cannot go out of the scope of the general salary payment in the country. For example, I've been comparing UHC staff with the doctors. I'm saying UHC staff are earning, doctors are earning according to approved salaries. But the other staff, including nurses, are not earning according to approved salary. So that is a disparity. If you ask me in that line, I'll tell you they're supposed to earn, those UHC staff, according to those levels. But generally, you look at what we want today is to have what has been given to us, paid to us first, before we can say it's not adequate. For example, a nurse is supposed to be earning a nursing service allowance of 30,000. They are getting 20,000. Apart from MTRH, more referral. They are supposed to be getting a uniform allowance of 50,000. The ministry set itself at 50,000. But when we went to negotiate, they said they could pay 25,000. It's only MTRH that's paying 25,000. So the other hospitals, some are paying 15,000, some are paying 10. So you see, there's that kind of disparities. But from where I sit, no nurse should be earning below 100,000 Kenya shillings today in Kenya.
Yes. Sorry, Seth. We talk about as an area that is very critical to the country. One would say it is the engine of the healthcare of this country. Now, there is what you say in terms of what is owed to you has not been paid, and this borders on mistreatment of the nursing fraternity in the country. How does this come to affect service delivery to Kenyans, so that when someone comes to hospital and doesn't get services, just how does that look?
It affects because when you don't pay these people very well, it means their nutrition is compromised. When the nutrition is compromised, you'll have this element related to poor nutrition come in. And you'll have many nurses who are sick. They will not come to hospital. They will not come to work. They are not staying in areas, some of them, because of the house allowance that is very small, that has gone to share and shisha and the housing levy and the rest. So if a nurse was staying in a 2-bedroom house, will have to go back to maybe a 1-bedroom house. If you are staying in a 1-bedroom house, perhaps you will go back to the slums where you can get a 3,000 house or 4,000 house. That environment alone in those slum area, Mathare, Kibira, Mikuru, Kwanjenga, will expose you to those problems. Or even if it's not yourself, your child will get sick. So you'll have to ask permission to take care of your child, and that reduces the number of nurses on duty. Let me not talk about the nurses alone, because this is an issue of payments cutting across.
Yes.
I want to use as an example, but I won't mention maybe the department. I have friends of mine who are working in a government department where they're literally now walking from home to town. They are walking, most of the workers kutoka kwao, wakifika ofisi it is 10, they are tired, they stay, they rest, then they are told now at 2.
Now how are you town?
They don't stay in town.
Okay.
They stay very far. But you see, because of these levies and taxes have eaten, they're getting almost nothing. Most of the workers in public sector do some small development in the village to take you a loan, and now you are taxed. Even the 2/3 rule is not obeyed, so you have no money, so you end up working to have ends meet, and that's what many of these workers are doing. So from where I sit, when you don't look at the welfare of the nurses in totality, you affect the service delivery. For example, you're talking about safe staffing levels. If your staffing level is too bad the way it is in Kenya today, it simply means that if a nurse is supposed to take care of 6 patients, he or she is taking care of 20 or 30 or 40. In the worst scenario, I've gone to a hospital where I went to a ward and I found one nurse alone taking care of 40 patients. Is that witchcraft, or you are mukanga? Are you a mukanga so that you are work? You know, a mukanga can take care of 1,000 people at once, because he will sit there and say, anapiga kiburi yake, anasema the 10 of you are suffering from this. You have been witched by your people. Take this medicine, go and get healed. But here you must give individualized care to these patients. They have different medical conditions. They could be in the same ward, but different medical conditions. They need to be examined. Vital signs are supposed to be taken. They are supposed to be monitored. You know the situation where you've heard of a patient has died, a nurse didn't even know when the patient died. Because by the time I finish giving medication to 40 patients, what is happening with the first patient, I don't know.
Absolutely.
So by the time I go to document, even my shift is already over. So the safe staffing level for our nurses is extremely important, the nursing delivery. And this cannot happen if adequate funds are not allocated to the Ministry of Health. And if they are allocated to the Ministry of Health and they are diverted to other things, that's where also the problem comes in.
Yeah.
It
seems as though there's a lot of attention, Seth, paid on the brick and mortar, right?
Correct.
Look, they're doing the job. They're doing the 36 to 40. In some cases, unfortunately, more than the 40 hours.
Correct.
They're working for longer hours.
They're not even going on leave.
Or not getting leave, having to walk from, home to work and things like this. And then still come and take on the responsibility of caring for the sick, right?
Yes.
It's the stuff, it's the bricks that you put together. It's the thing. But then there's the softer part of it that comes into play as well, in terms of added training for nurses. We're talking about, softer skills of having to deal with people. You're not going to run away from this one, Seth, but that it has come to the attention of very many people that perhaps that softer skills training also is something that should be done for nurses. where people do complain sometimes about the way in which nurses comport themselves towards patients. It's one thing to take into consideration on this International Day of Nurses. I know it's a bit uncomfortable, isn't it? But it happens, and that you must have heard it before. And interestingly enough, it's not just in Kenya. It seems to be across board that we seem to hear that it's all over. What happens? What's wrong? What happens? And is that something that can be dealt with?
I think maybe we are still having the old-type notion that nurses were very rude and they were beating mothers, especially in labor ward. I came face-to-face when I was a student, and when I completed college in my first employment, I came face-to-face with that brutality. And I managed to take care of that. And that hospital today became one of the best in Mombasa. It is true that we have been accused of those things in the past. But I think with the activities of this union, we have tried to educate our members to make them understand that where your right begins, the right of the patient ends. And where the right of the patients end, your rights, where your rights end, theirs begin. So we must meet somewhere. The employer, the patient, the citizens, they have the right to healthcare as provided for in the Constitution of Kenya. So we must be compassionate. One of the training that we have as nurses is to be compassionate. And you cannot be compassionate when you are being brutal to the people you are supposed to take care of. We are supposed to be empathic. We are supposed to feel in your shoes, not to be in your shoes, but to feel like you're in your shoes. And we are supposed to be advocates of the patients. So all these attributes that we learn in college do not translate to cannot translate to being a good nurse if you go out there and you go against it. For example, a nurse that will beat a patient is not compassionate. If you see a patient being mistreated by a colleague or a different person and you don't become an advocate of that patient to stop that mistreatment, you are not being a nurse advocate. And that is what we do in the Nursing Foundation. When you do the first year of the nursing course, those are the much things you're being taught. How to be compassionate, how to be an advocate of the patient, and those things used to happen. But I think if a research was done in that aspect today, it will be quite different. What's happening today is that nurses are now the ones being assaulted by the communities, because nurses have become aware of the litigation issues and they're trying as much as possible to act within the professional expectations. And you have seen many cases where nurses have been assaulted on duty. We have seen cases where a nurse was killed on duty. You see the patient shot a nurse, died in Kiromo Line Hospital. You had that. You had that nurse of a friend of mine, or that patient of a friend of mine who went to a hospital in Pusia and assaulted nurses and other health workers. You've had many of those kind of incidents. So as much as you talk about issues facing nurses and being rude or being what, you also have to go along that. But of recent, I would say those incidents have declined.
Have they declined?
They're declining, and I wish you are an investigator. Media is one of the investigation arm of society that we have in this country, and you better do the research so that next time I come here, you must be speaking from statistics.
Okay, so let me tell you one, and you can tell me then what can be done. Because by the time I asked you that question, so just 2 months ago, a gentleman was went to a medical facility just off of Jogo Road, and it's important for us to put these things out there. Just off of Jogo Road, he was extremely unwell, and in his illness, a gentleman showed up and had either fallen off or was in an accident on a motorcycle. And his leg was visibly broken. So when I say visibly broken, I'm going to spare you the graphics of it. But his leg was visibly broken. He required assistance to move from where the fella on the motorbike brought him to enter into this medical facility. There was a nurse. For all intents and purposes, she was in uniform. But she sat at that desk, right? This man could not walk. He couldn't walk, obviously, because his leg was broken. And there was no attempt to have somebody even come in, help him on a wheelchair, something. And she almost was behaving as though she was annoyed at this man for breaking his own leg, right? and was rather harsh with him in terms of how he should come in to get treated. And the gentleman on the motorcycle had to be the one to now carry him and was asking, okay, so now how do I get from one point to the other? It is a case that happened, and unfortunately, somebody had to come in and say, come on, guys, this should not be the way we should be operating. The doctor then now came in and had to reprimand the nurse, unfortunately, in the presence of other people. So it didn't look good at all. But this actually happened. This is something that happened most recently. It is an isolated case. However, it represents the fear that a lot of people still have, which goes back to my question in terms of training, because we understand that the circumstances, and I'm not justifying any kind of bad behavior, but the circumstances sometimes can be tough. So when we're talking about what needs to be done in the brick and mortar, which is absolutely necessary as we celebrate this particular day, what happens in terms of training that will enhance the skills?
Correct. One of the things I want to say is that first, if it happened, it was very wrong, but there are things you need to look at. That nurse sitting there, if it were a nurse, because everybody knows.
She was in a, that's why I said, that's why I clarified with saying that she was in a uniform that one would assume she was.
Not everybody in the uniform is nurses. Some fellows are not nurses because most likely somebody sitting there with this kind of shortage, it may be a support staff or a records person.
In uniform.
They are employing people called patient assistant, patient attendant, but that cannot be an excuse. Let me explain if it were indeed a nurse. Yesterday, because of my nursing passion, when I was coming home, somebody came from the other side and rolled, and the vehicle turned upside down. And I had to stop and say, I want to help here. And I called other guys, we pushed the car to the other side and we removed that person from the vehicle. Because I was feeling if I go and leave this person, he might die. And when I hear that he has died, I'll blame myself. That compassionate of being a nurse. It's natural. You don't even have to be a nurse to help somebody. I have to be very clear. You do not have to be a nurse to help somebody, a sick person. You just have to be a human being.
True.
So the issue of nurses not doing what they're supposed to do is unique to specific fellows, isolated cases. You know, in the past, those things were so many. And ask me why. In the past, we had people called accredited nurses. They have not gone to a school of nursing. They were working as cleaners and they were being promoted. There were so many in county councils. So they know a few things and they are promoted as nurses. So they have no ethics. They don't know what they're supposed to do. Sometimes even maternal mortality rate was very high because of these people that are being appointed to even attend to mothers in labor wards. So we must, as I've said before, we should do a research now to get the situation in the country today. Where are we in terms of the nurse conduct? Because we may not speak on issues where we don't have the statistics to show us. From where I sit, I think we have made tremendous improvement in terms of how we have been treating our patients. I have a hospital like MTRH, I can tell you, I've never heard of these disciplinary cases for the last about 5-7 years. And this is an improvement. And we aspire to ensure that all our hospitals in Kenya, we reach them. The only problem we have is that the government sees trade unions as an enemy. They do not give us what deserves for us. As even we're talking today, you know, even that nurse, if it was a nurse, for example, let me go back to that nurse. If it was that nurse, are you aware maybe he was having a backache? Maybe he has been given light duties. That's why he's sitting there. So if you have been told you are on light duty, you can't lift a patient. You can't lift anything. How do you expect me to go and lift that patient when my back has gone already?
Or you could have said, I am I'm not able to stand up. There's somebody who can help you. As opposed to responding.
I'm saying I'm not really commending entirely on that matter because it's a case I don't know.
I hear you.
But I'm just giving assumptions. These are just assumptions. But clearly we may have another nurse who was just rude. People, we are human beings. So you've heard of even doctors who are called to come and attend to patients at night and they refuse.
SG. There's a question that is being asked here by one of our listeners, Rogers Odongo, and his question about nurses internship. Why can't union fast track on the list? Number 2, why does it seem like the union has abandoned the interns, yet deductions are usually remitted as union fees?
Number 1, those interns don't remit deductions to the union of nurses. They're not our members. The ones who are in internship today that we fought the other time, you know, remember I was here? They all got absorbed. They're not paying anything. They only come to us when they have issues. But when they are settled, they forget about the union. Number two is that I am not aware of any problem that the pre-interns are having, because if they have a problem, they must have some form of leadership. So that leadership rises to my office and tells us that we are supposed to go for internship. These are the challenges we are having. They are sitting. I'm not a student. Interns are clearly students because they are still going through their training process. I went through that process. So they are supposed to have some form of organization. Like the group that has gone had a clear organization. I knew they had the chair. So if I want to communicate, I'll communicate to that chair. So that chair will give me the issues affecting them, and I'll present to the ministry. As we are talking today, I just know the ministry said all interns will go for posting in July. So if they have issues, they must have brought to my attention that these are a number of interns, and these are the issues we have. Because if the ministry has said all interns will go for internship in July, mine is to wait in July. If they're not posted, then I ask, why have they not been posted? Even if they're not paying, when they get that job, they don't pay. They are still our children. We want the profession must continue, because if we don't support them, we'll kill our profession. So we do it voluntary as a union. So when somebody says we are now is being deducted and it's not even on internship, he's paying using whose money? Paying which union? Money is being how do you deduct you and you're a student? So you have no right to tell us that we are supposed to attend to you when you're not a member. We do it on the basis that, number one, you are the people who are the future. You remember I talked about the future. The future nursing. The future nurses. You are the future. And as people charge the responsibility of protecting the profession, we must ensure that the young people in college transit the way they're supposed to transit and go look for employment.
Sure.
Yeah.
What would be the hope? There's every day there is a celebration of this every year rather, there is a celebration of this particular day. And we've had you in this room before, Seth, when we've looked at certain issues. Nurses are going to go on strike because CBAs have not been upheld. Nurses are going to go on strike because, salaries are unpaid in the counties. Nurses are going to go on strike because, just the general upkeep and well-being, of their livelihoods have not been, taken care of. What would be the hope? And interesting enough, we don't seem to have this issue in the private sector.
It is, the private sector, we have serious guys. I will give you an example of the impending national strike by the nurses. I'm just waiting the governing council to come and give me authority to issue the strike notice. I was in another media house yesterday and I was asking myself, the government is telling us it doesn't have 3.5 billion to add on the 4.5 billion that is there to have nurses and other health workers. 8,700 health workers converted into permanent and pensionable. Yet, it has given the presidency 2.5 billion for painting of State House, kwenda kupaka rank, Uko State House. It has given the president 12.45 billion of walking around the country and doing premature campaigns. So I asked the president, out of the 15 billion, just give us 3.5 billion to have 8,700 Kenyans work like other workers and live a decent life. It is not so much to ask. You cannot talk of believing in primary health care, believing in universal health care, and you are taking or cobbling 15 billion just for things which are not urgent. And the people who are supposed to be giving the universal health care are crying. So I asked the president yesterday, just remove 3.5 billion from your budget and give to these 8,700 health workers. It is the issue of prioritization. And it's the issue of having, being, maybe in Kenya we and it's very sad. I think we don't elect leaders, we elect businessmen. So when they go to those positions, they are going there to do business with government. It is frustrating. You are in office on behalf of Kenyans. You are holding that office in trust of Kenyans. But you use that office as a business office where you are transacting private business. That is why money that is supposed to go to service delivery is being diverted to things which are irrelevant, like painting State House, 2.5 billion. And we want only 3.5 billion for these people to go for permanent and pensionable. I find it as immoral, irresponsible, and even an act of ungodly for you to take 15 billion and one person, 15 billion. One person, 15 billion.
There's a problem.
There's a problem.
Indeed.
One person, 15 billion. The president alone, 15 billion. And yet, 8,700 universal healthcare nurses, where the president says he's concerned and committed to implement universal health coverage. They are crying, they're on the street, they're on strike today. How ungodly could you be?
Is there hope in a very short future?
I have told the president, and I'll keep telling him, even from out of this studio, I'm going to tell him, cut your budget, reduce it.
And all these other things that we need to do will actually get done.
If I were the president, I'd not borrow even a shilling.
Seth Panyako.
We have a lot of money that is going to waste in this country. Yes.
And it can actually be sorted out.
Correct.
Indeed it can. Seth Panyako is the Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Nurses, and we've been looking at International Nurses Day 2025. A lot of work to be done, a lot of things to be celebrated at the same time. Thank you so much for being here this morning, and we wish you a happy International Nurses Day 2025.
True. Thank you very much.
And looking forward to better things in the future.
Correct.
Asante sana. Thank you for being part of Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. This Monday, we get into a good week. Together, we keep talking as we must. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.
PLP leader Martha Karua has criticized the government's handling of Kasipul MP Ong'ondowere's murder probe, noting that while the investigations have demonstrated the capacities of security agencies in cracking serious crimes, many other murder cases are going cold. Karua, who appeared on the just concluded Situation Room show here on SpiceFM, lamented over what